think the sound's on now. Oh wait, it's not. Into the sun, I won't close. I think we're good with the sound. No, it's supposed to show here that it is working. Like I'm supposed to see it. I don't see anything here. And do this. It's supposed to show, and I think it's on. I hope the audio is working. Waiting for a sign. Please be working. Into the sun, and I won't close my eyes. Still have that there, huh? Always. Was hoping to get everything done by the time this song was finished, but I'm not even fully sure my sound is working. And I hope it is. Raise my wrist, no mirror that hasn't met my fist, but I can't help feeling like I'm due. Bro, I can't even see if my mic is on. I know the sound that. Okay, hold on. Come on. Straight. I gotta hope. Gotta hope. That's enough of that song. Oy, I'll listen to it again later. Alright. Okay, so this is perfect. This is just perfect. This is just absolutely perfect. I have no whether or not my sound is working based on what I'm seeing here. Oh snap, you're still playing another. I think I had it on autoplay. Okay, so I can't see because I'll have to restart the stream, and I'm clearly not doing that. But I can't see. My sound right now is on. My microphone is working, and I hope you guys can hear me because I actively cannot see. I actively cannot see whether or not my microphone is working from here. All of my sound programs are on, but like the microphone aspect is supposed to be showing me whether or not it's working. See anything. Nothing's happening here. It's just it's so weird. I'm good? Okay. Well, I'm gonna rely on you guys. If the sound does go off, be sure to tell me because I actively cannot see it working right now, and I do not want to restart the stream. So, we've already been here for like 5 minutes now. Oh, of course. And I get it. Give me a second here. What's up, man? What's up? Okay, so after being delayed 10 minutes, am I 10 minutes into this? There's no way I'm 10 minutes into this. I am 6 minutes into. Oh, of course. Everything seems to be good on my side. I hope that is the case, so we can actually get started on the topic here. Shouldn't be 5 minutes into a stream and all of a sudden you're still trying to figure things out. I really feel uncomfortable with not knowing if my sound's fully working, but I'll let you guys keep me intact with that aspect. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there's no way. There's no way. Don't. There's okay. All right. Let's start that over again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ravens flock, how you guys doing today? You guys feeling good? Well, obviously you're not because that little situation happened yesterday. Yeah, you see that? That right there? That's Isaiah Likely. That individual right there, that's Patrick Queen. Buddy got his revenge in the biggest way possible against us yesterday. That was a very, very brutal game, and it just showed what the Ravens are. They are who we thought they were. The Ravens are paper tigers. They are a team that is not to be trusted. It doesn't matter if you've got one of the best quarterbacks in football. We're seeing this year that having one of the best quarterbacks in football doesn't guarantee you wins. Joe Burrow is playing like a top 2 quarterback. Arguably, if his team would have a winning record, he'd be the MVP this year. He's leading the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. Jamar Chase is leading in every possible receiver statistic, and the Bengals are 4-7. So quarterback play is not the problem. This is still a team game. You could play the best possible football as a quarterback and still lose because it's a team game. So it doesn't matter if you got one of the best quarterbacks in football. It's still a team game. And when you look at the Ravens as a team, they don't scare anybody. They really don't. Why don't they scare anybody? Because they're such an up and down team. If the Ravens play at their highest, nobody can beat them. But when they play at their lowest, they're vulnerable to every team in the National Football League. That includes teams that are tanking. They're such an inconsistent football team. And when you're such an up and down football team, you're just not going to be able to win in the postseason. Because that means one game you'll show up and dominate, next game you won't show up. We don't know what we're going to get from the Ravens on a week-to-week basis. It's the fact of the situation. It's the reality of the situation. And it's unfortunate that this is the case. The Ravens are paper tigers, man. You know, I've been thinking about what the Ravens are in terms of a comparison. I was trying to say they're like the 2017 Steelers. They're like the 2018 Chiefs. No. The Baltimore Ravens are the 2022 Dallas Cowboys. This team is heading for 12-5. And they're going to be a first-round exit. Everybody can sense it. You can sense this is a first-round exit team. I mean, they've got all the signs. The Ravens have one of the worst pass defenses in football, though it seems like they figured out taking out Marcus Williams and just playing Ardarius Washington and Kyle Hamilton together. Just play 2 safeties. It seems like they figured things out. It's funny how you play 2 safeties and all of a sudden Roquan Smith looked like one of the best linebackers in football. Maybe it wasn't Roquan Smith's fault that all those yards over the middle of the field was really happening. Maybe it was Marcus Williams being so poor and making Roquan Smith's job harder. But that's a discussion for a different time. But yeah, Ravens having one of the worst defenses in the National Football League doesn't help. So you got one of the worst defenses in the National Football League. You're the most penalized team in football. You're exactly like the 2022 Cowboys. It's crazy to say it. Because the 2022 Cowboys went into the postseason being the most penalized team in the National Football League. And that caught up to them against the Niners. That caught up to them against the Niners. And it ultimately cost them. And the sad part about it is, the Niners did everything in their power to give them that game. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt and then ended up throwing a dumb pick, which again wasn't his fault. He was injured. But the Niners did everything in their power to give Dallas that game. And Dallas just couldn't get out of their own way. So they ended up losing in the first round against a team they probably should have been able to beat. Because that Dallas Cowboys team had endless potential. They had so much potential both offensively and defensively. But they were such an undisciplined football team that they just couldn't get themselves together in the postseason to get it done. So they met up with a rival that felt comfortable playing against them, and they got beat in a game they probably should have won. So we're really feeling like the 2022 Dallas Cowboys. So it would not shock me. At this point, we're probably going to be in the wild card round unless things turn around in the division. And if we're in the wild card round, there's a good chance that we're either going to go to Houston or most likely Pittsburgh. Right now, we sit as the 6th seed because the Chargers have a 7-3 record. We face off against them next week. We lose against them, we're probably going to be a 6th seed, which means Pittsburgh's going to win the division, and you're going to have to go back to Pittsburgh in the wild card round. And I'm going to be honest, we got to go back to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. With the way this team's playing, they're going to probably lose that playoff game. The AFC just feels so predictable this year. I can tell you right now how things are going to go. The Ravens are going to be a first-round exit. The Chargers, the Broncos are also going to be first-round exits. The Ravens, Broncos, and Chargers are all going to be first-round exits. The Steelers are going to get smacked by the Bills or the Chiefs. Houston's just going to be a casualty no matter who they face off against. They can't beat Kansas City. They can't beat Buffalo in the playoff game. It's going to be the AFC Championship game between the Chiefs and the Bills. And for some reason, the Chiefs are going to win that game and head to the Super Bowl because Buffalo does something stupid in the worst possible moment. Probably Sean McDermott making a terrible decision in the worst possible moment to cost them the game. And Josh Allen's just going to have to sit there on the bench as Patrick Mahomes raises another trophy and heads to the Super Bowl. That's probably what's going to happen. The AFC is so predictable, it's sad. The only team that could have mixed up the AFC playoffs was Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has the capability of beating any team in the AFC, despite how bad their defense is. Their offense is so legal, they could go toe-to-toe with any team. If Cincinnati could get to the playoffs, they could beat Kansas City, they could beat Buffalo, they could beat Houston, they could beat Baltimore, they probably could beat Pittsburgh, but we're going to find out because they have not faced off against Pittsburgh's defense yet. But the Bengals have the capability of beating any team in the AFC, so they really could have shaken it up. If they got in as a 7th seed and takes on Buffalo in the 2 seed, I could see Cincinnati going to Buffalo and beating the Bills. That would have made the playoffs more interesting. But Cincinnati sitting at 4-7, they don't have any tiebreakers. They don't have any tiebreakers against the Ravens. They don't have any tiebreakers against the Chargers since they lost to them now. So the only chance they got is against the Denver Broncos, who have a winning record right now. I think the Broncos are 5-5 right now, or 6-5. Let me check their record. The Denver Broncos. Let me see. The Broncos right now stand at 6-5. So the Broncos are 6-5. The Bengals are 4-7. And the Bengals will face off against the Broncos. The Bengals don't have any tiebreakers against anybody, so the chances of them making the playoffs is extremely slim. Even at 9-7, they could potentially win the rest of their games and potentially miss the playoffs just because they don't have any tiebreakers. That's how nasty it is for Cincinnati. As a Ravens fan, I love the downfall of the Bengals. But as a football fan, it's unfortunate that we're not going to see Cincinnati in the playoffs because they were the only teams that could mix up the AFC playoffs. Everything's clear as day. We know how the postseason is going to go. We know Baltimore is going to be a first-round exit based off of what they've shown us. We know the Chargers are going to be a first-round exit based off of what they've shown us. We saw them blow that lead against the Bengals. They can blow a lead against anybody. They lucked out. If it wasn't for McPherson missing 2 field goals, the Bengals win that game. So the Chargers, still not to be trusted. Denver, it's a bit too early. Bo Nix is having a great rookie year, but it's a bit too early to see them actually take over. So Baltimore, Denver, and the Chargers, they're all going to be wild card exits. Houston's going to advance by association just because they're going to take on a wild card team that they could probably beat. Pittsburgh's going to win against whoever they face in the wild card round. So it's going to be a divisional round between Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Houston. Houston's a casualty. They're not beating any of the teams they meet up with. And Buffalo can handle the Steelers or the Chiefs. I think Pittsburgh gets smoked by either Kansas City or Buffalo. So I think it'll just be an AFC title game between Buffalo and Kansas City. And Kansas City's going to win and get to the Super Bowl. It's so predictable. If that ends up happening, come back to this live stream. I'm telling you right now, come back to this live stream. Maybe I have the script. But it's so predictable. 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 And we can all see it. We can all see it. Nothing has changed in the AFC that can make you think differently. It's so predictable. The NFC at this point is a lot less predictable because right now the Lions seem like the team to beat. They seem like they're the favorite. But I don't know how many are going to fully trust Detroit to get it together in the playoffs consistently, especially since you have a head coach that is willing to go for it in the most pristine situations, and that could potentially backfire. I think the Lions can get to the Super Bowl, but I can't put money on it completely. And I think it's wide open for anybody. Philly seems like they're back in that form right now. They're playing much better football this year than they were last year when they were a 10-1 team at some point. So Philadelphia is an interesting team. Obviously, I would love to say the story of Washington. They make things interesting, but I don't know if we can really say Washington's good enough to get to the Super Bowl. I don't think so yet. They have a few spots they can fix in the draft that can make them true legit contenders, but I think they'll be competitive in the playoffs. You've got other teams. The Niners, I don't know what the Niners are doing this year. The Vikings, with Sam Darnold, I don't fully trust it, but it is a thing. The Packers, they're up and down. You feel like Detroit's got it this year, but you're not sure. The Cardinals are a wild card aspect here. Not in terms of wild card, right? But like they're a wild card team in the NFC. There's more interest in terms of chaos within the NFC. We all believe the Lions got it, but are we fully sure the Lions got it? We know Kansas City's got it in the AFC. Nobody has shown me that they can beat them come postseason. The only team that's come close to doing that is Buffalo. But Buffalo has played this game before where they've beaten the Chiefs in the regular season and have lost to them in the postseason. They beat them yesterday, and not a single Chiefs fan was concerned because they're like, they always beat us in the regular season. But then they got to come to our building, and then we beat them in the postseason. It's like clockwork. So the AFC playoffs just seem so predictable. It's unfortunate that this is the case. And it's the same with the Ravens. They're going to flame out in the playoffs, and we can all see it. They're the same team. I came into the year with zero expectations. I came into the year with zero expectations just like last year. However, there were two tests the Ravens needed to pass in order to exceed my expectations and show me this isn't the same team we've seen in previous years. Those tests was week 1 in Kansas City and yesterday against the Steelers. The Chiefs and the Steelers are the only two teams that were their tests. They failed both those tests. So basically, they're the same unit. Does not matter how they are. It may be a different look here, maybe different schemes, more talent, however you look at it. They're the same old Ravens team that's going to flame out in the playoffs. They are unreliable, they're undisciplined, and you cannot trust them. It's unfortunate, but that's the case. It's hard for me to get mad. When you accept the reality of where your football team is, you can't get mad because you just know this is what they are. I could hope for them to be better, but there's 6 weeks left in the season. They got 6 games left. You think they're going to magically turn this around in 6 games? And then people are trying to hit us with the whole 2012 thing. 2012 is a miracle. No one ever wants to mention this, but 2012 was literally a miracle. Dude, Ray Lewis tore a pec and was supposed to be out. He tore like something. He was supposed to be out for the rest of the season. He came back in time for the playoffs. He was not supposed to play. That sparked something there too. The team had a whole mutiny because of how things were looking. Our offensive coordinator got fired midway through the season. Cam Cameron was out. Jim Caldwell took over for play calling. That was something we don't normally do. That's not a normal Ravens season, to fire your offensive coordinator mid-season, having a mutiny in the locker room because of how things going, losing your defensive leader for pretty much the entire season just for him to come back in time for the playoffs. So much magical stuff happened in 2012. That is just a different year. So for people to keep pushing this narrative like, oh man, the 2012 team had all their trials and tribulations and they came on top. There was so much magical stuff that happened that is different. Unless somebody would have got hurt earlier in the season that's going to come back now, that's going to change the tone of this team, I don't see where you're going to get that extra motivation from. Is Zachary Orr going to get fired or something? Like so many things happen that normally don't happen in Ravens seasons. So many things happen that people just ignored. And then when you get to the playoffs, the Colts game, that was great. Well, people forget the Denver game. They probably should have lost that. Our special teams specialist in John Harbaugh watched his team give up a kick return and a punt return. Trendon Holiday, on the first touch for the Broncos, returned a punt for a touchdown in the first quarter. We come out of the locker room tied 21-21. Trendon Holiday catches the kickoff, goes the distance for a touchdown. Mr. Special Teams coach, Mr. Special Teams specialist, our head coach John Harbaugh, watched his team in a playoff game give up a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown. Special Teams wasn't doing anything special that day. If it wasn't for Jacoby Jones, God rest his soul, if it was not for Jacoby Jones catching a miracle pass, we lose in the division round and Flacco never gets a ring. But people don't want to talk about that. People don't want to talk about that. They keep wanting to bring up the 2012 season like there wasn't multiple magical aspects that changed the whole scope of the season. So much happened that year that I'm not even going to get into. But that was a magical season. This season hasn't felt magical. It's felt more of the same. So why are we comparing it? Has anybody gone down majorly that you think is going to come back at the end of the year and spark the team? Have we lost one of our leaders for the season, quote unquote? No. Is anybody going to get fired on the coaching staff? I don't think a coaching change is going to happen. Are they going to have a team in the bye week? Are we going to see another mutiny? I doubt it. I don't know what you're going to get. This team feels just like the same. So stop comparing them to the 2012 team. Please stop comparing them. It's not even the same. It's not even the same. And even that 2012 team, they probably should have lost to the Broncos, and they nearly blew it in the Super Bowl after being up 28-6. So can we stop making those comparisons? They're not the 2012 Ravens. Please stop making those comparisons. With that being said, we kind of know what the Ravens are. Like I said, Paper Tigers, they show us who they are. Just like you see with the title of this live stream, Baltimore, we beat ourselves. Ravens, they strike again. This is who they are. I'm tired of people on social media, on YouTube, on all these other platforms. I'm tired of them talking about the Ravens beating themselves. I'm tired. Every time we talk about this team not changing, the people that want to defend the Ravens, they want to defend John Harbaugh, they want to defend the coaching staff. No, we just beat ourselves today. We just beat ourselves. If Tucker just makes those 2 field goals, we don't lose today. If Tucker just does this, if we don't fumble the ball, we don't. Guys, over the last 4 years, if you take a look at the losses we have suffered over the last 4 years, how many of those games have we looked at and said we beat ourselves? Regular and postseason. How many of those games have we left with the outcome and the mindset of we beat ourselves today? We should have won this game, but we beat ourselves today. How many times has that been the case over the last 4 years? How many times has that been the case over the last decade? Because again, in the 2014 divisional round against the New England Patriots, we had 2 14-point leads. We had 2 14-point leads, not one. We were in Foxborough. We had 2 14-point leads in the 2014 divisional round, and we blew both those. We beat ourselves in that playoff game. 2016, we had the lead against the Pittsburgh Steelers for the division, a Christmas game. All we had to do was make a stop in the final minute. We lost the game because we couldn't tackle Antonio Brown. 3 defenders won. Antonio Brown at the 2-yard line. He extends his hand to get the touchdown. Steelers win the division. We beat ourselves. We took on a poor team in 2017, a Bengals team that had no shot to make the playoffs. We already knew they were out of it by week 17. All the Ravens had to do was handle business at home against a terrible Bengals team. They start off 17-0. They start off 17. They're down 17 points. They fight back. They take the lead. All they have to do is make a stop on 4th and 12. They give up a touchdown. Game over. Season over. We beat ourselves. This has been happening before Lamar. But now you have this quarterback, and it shouldn't be happening, and it's still happening. How many times do we have to keep hearing we beat ourselves before people wake up and realize this is who they are? If you're beating yourself in these football games year and year and year and year, that's who you are. You're a football team that's undisciplined. You're a football team that's unreliable, and you cannot be trusted come postseason. In the biggest moments, you cannot be trusted. In the biggest moments, you cannot be relied on. That is who the Baltimore Ravens are. That's who they are. Embrace it. Embrace it. Accept it and embrace it. That's who they are. They are an unreliable, undisciplined football team that will find a way to let you down in the biggest moments. Things that they should be doing, they forget to do in the biggest moments. Things they should not be doing, they start doing in the biggest moments. Derrick Henry had not lost a fumble in 538 touches. He fumbles the ball on the second snap of the game. Isaiah Likely is not a player known to fumble the ball. He gets stripped just before halftime. Justice Hill had the ball right in his hands. He let a Steelers player rip it out of his hands, and it ends up being an interception. Tucker misses not 1 but 2 field goals back to back. Things the Ravens don't normally do, they do against the biggest opponents in the biggest moments. I don't know what the media's been saying this today because let me just side note, I do this every time. I've been doing this last few years. After the Ravens lose, I just use the week to de-escalate. I don't listen to the media. I don't go on social media. I'm not looking up anything that's happening with the Ravens. If I have to go look up, it's for news because we have injuries. So if I'm on Twitter, I'm just looking for that. But I take that time to de-escalate and just go do my own thing. One of the things I have been doing while I take that week off from sports, because I don't want to listen to sports media, is I just like watch old TV shows and sitcoms or get into new stuff. Like right now, this week, after this loss against the Steelers, like yesterday, and I've been doing it today, I've been rewatching Family Matters. I'm on season 2 of Family Matters. There's 9 seasons, and we don't play until Monday night. So I'm going to finish Family Matters this weekend. We'll be good. The next Ravens loss, I'm probably going to rewatch the original Teen Titans series. It's got, 5 seasons, so I'll watch Teen Titans with the next Ravens loss. I don't know what I'm going to watch after the Ravens playoff loss because it's probably going to happen unless changes are made. So I'll figure out what I want to watch there. But, it is what it is. Right now I'm just watching Family Matters. I got 9 seasons to go. I'm on season 2, so that's pretty much what I'll be doing this week. I recommend it for everybody. Please do Dragon Ball. I've rewatched Dragon Ball way too much, man. I've rewatched the original Dragon Ball series. I've seen Dragon Ball. I've seen Z. I've seen GT. I've watched Super. I've read the manga. I played games. I got literally Sparking right here. So we don't need to do that. The Ravens don't help Lamar in these games, but why is Lamar so scared to run whenever he faces the Chiefs or Steelers? He had open lanes he did against the Chiefs in week 1 and had 100 yards. Lamar continues to showcase that he just don't want to run. People keep trying to put this narrative on him that he's a running back, but I keep getting this speculation from Lamar that he purposely chooses not to run just because he does not want to run. The man has spoken about this for years. He does not like running the football. He does not want to take off and run. He is a quarterback, and Lamar's done everything in his power to specify that he is a quarterback. He does not want to run. So in these moments, I feel like, especially nowadays, especially in recent years, with the way things have gone, especially with his contract, I feel like a lot of times Lamar just does not want to run in these situations. Like, he'd rather just throw the ball. He doesn't want to run. I really feel a lot of times in these situations, because even in the games, he had lanes to take off. Lamar just did not want to take off. Like, you reluctantly see him choose to just keep trying to throw the ball down the field. He just does not want to take off. He's just finding anybody. Nobody's open, and he's just trying to find somebody, because Buddy does not want to take off. He had to spend years trying to take off for this team, and he don't want to do it anymore. He's clearly frustrated. He don't want to talk about it, but he's frustrated. And I think a lot of players, they keep speaking up on this. They're frustrated. And I think that frustration is pointed towards the head coach, but that's just speculations. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The Ravens, they cannot be relied on. They cannot be trusted. They're an undisciplined football team that you cannot rely on. You can't rely on them. Can't rely on them. If they face off against Pittsburgh in the playoffs, they'll probably lose. They face off against Kansas City, they'll probably lose. Maybe they beat Buffalo, but who knows? Buffalo seems to be more sound than us. Their only problem is they can't beat Kansas City in the postseason. That's their issue. If it wasn't for that, they would have been gone to the Super Bowl. We have several issues. And I don't think that's just going to magically change. I don't think it's going to magically change in the last 6 games. Like, Harbaugh keeps running his mouth in these press conferences, giving generic 2K answers like anybody's going to listen to that crap anymore and actually take him seriously. Because he's been saying since week 1, he's been talking about fixing these penalties. We cannot continue to deal with these penalties. This is too many penalties. We need to lower the penalties. He's been saying that since week 1. It's week 11. It's week 11, and we lead the league in penalties by a wide margin. So this guy literally goes to the media every single week. They ask him about the penalties. He says we got to get that done. We got to get that improved. We can't keep committing penalties. It's hurting us. Then the team goes out there and commits 10-plus penalties a game. They lead the league in penalties by a wide margin. So that just goes to show me he's not practicing what he's preaching. Because if this was something that could have been fixed, it would have been fixed long ago. Great coaches will fix these issues. And trust me, moving forward, a disciplined football team would not be dealing with this many penalties. But 11 games in, and we're the most penalized team in the National Football League, and it has not changed. He doesn't practice what he preaches. And I think everyone's seen it. He keeps saying the same generic answers. They asked him about Derrick Henry, and he gave the same generic 2K answer if we want to try to get him involved, but that's just how the game went. You brought Derrick Henry here for what? No touches in the fourth quarter? I want you guys to notice this trend. In every single one of our losses, Derrick Henry has not gotten the ball in the fourth quarter. In every single one of our 4 losses, Derrick Henry has not gotten the ball in the fourth quarter. In every single one of our losses, Derrick Henry has not gotten the ball in the fourth quarter. Notice a trend? What did you bring him here for if you're not going to use him in the fourth quarter, which is his best quarter? Like, the guy is just so incompetent as a coach right now. Maybe I'm telling you, it's just he's been a coach so long, 17 years now. It's time for a philosophy change. You in the 4 losses, the fact of the matter is, this guy is showcasing extreme high levels of incompetence with his football team. It took them 11 weeks to realize that they should have just went 2 high safeties. Marcus Williams was terrible all season. They benched him once. And their response was, let's keep the 3 safeties, but let's put this other guy in Eddie Jackson, who also has been sticking up the joint all season, and let's just do that. And it didn't work against Cleveland. It took them this long to realize that Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson, they're complete liabilities. We got to limit, first of all, Eddie Jackson should not even be on the football field. Marcus Williams, we have to limit his snaps as much as possible. Give him 1 or 2 snaps. But we should be playing 2 high safety, because Kyle Hamilton is an all-pro safety, one of the best safeties in football, and Darius Washington has played like one of the best safeties in football. He's having a fantastic year. It took them this long to realize that. And yet it hasn't clicked in their heads that Brandon Stevens should not be on the field as a starter. It hasn't clicked yet. Maybe it'll click, and maybe you'll see that change with Tre'Davious White coming in, because he actually played well in the game against the Steelers. Maybe they'll make that official change. So you can get Marcus Williams out of here. You get Brandon Stevens. You put them on the bench with Eddie Jackson. You see what you do with this, and maybe they can start turning it around on defense. But the fact that it took them this long to realize the basic thing that people have been saying for weeks, not just the players, not just the fans, the media's been pointing this out. It took you this long to realize that? That shows incompetence as a coach. 11 weeks in, the most penalized team in football. That shows incompetence as a coach. There's so much major issues with the Ravens that have still not been addressed. The team continues to beat themselves. Every time the offense tries to make a good play, it gets negated by a penalty. Why has that not been addressed? That falls on the head coach. That's an undisciplined football team. So nobody can just trust or listen to anything Harbaugh says, because he doesn't practice what he preaches. You cannot convince me he's practicing what he preaches, because if you're going to continue to talk about the penalties and nothing's changing, what does that say about you as a coach? You're not practicing what you're preaching, because these guys, either you're not practicing what you're preaching, or you've lost the locker room and these players don't care about what you're saying, because they're clearly not hearing you. I'm sure he's talking to the guys, right? You would have to assume he has to talk to the offensive line. Guys, you've got to stop holding. You've got to stop committing false starts. He's got to have talked to the offense about this. How many times have we committed false starts? How many times have we committed holding calls? How many times have we committed illegal formations, ineligible man downfield? How many times has that happened this season? Has he not talked to the offense about this? Has he not addressed these issues with the offensive line? I would assume he has. So either he's not practicing what he's preaching, or he's lost the players, because they're not listening to him. I'm really trying to figure this out, because this is a serious thing. He keeps coming to these press conferences and addressing and saying this is something that can't happen. We got to get that fixed. And then we go out in the game and it's not fixed, and it keeps happening. So again, I have to ask, it's one of the two. It's either he's not practicing what he's preaching, or he might have lost the locker room and doesn't realize it yet because his players aren't listening to him. The message isn't getting clear to them. Because there's no way, I could not imagine a disciplined football team that has issues committing penalties. The head coach addresses it, and then it doesn't improve. A disciplined football team, this would have been fixed long ago. Yet here we are entering week 12, 6 games left in the season. You're the most penalized team in football by far. I don't know what to tell you, man. So either he doesn't practice what he preaches, the team doesn't practice what he preaches, or he's lost the locker room and hasn't figured it out yet. Maybe the franchise hasn't even figured out he's lost the locker room, because maybe they're just not listening to his messages anymore. There's no way you can continue to have these penalties happen and nothing changes. If you're going to let this continue to happen, you're just going to continue to be an undisciplined football team. You're going to look like Dallas out there. Mike McCarthy, they don't trust in that guy. They don't believe in that guy. That guy is probably going to be out of Dallas soon. He's lost the locker room. They don't believe in that guy. You heard what Micah Parsons was saying, and again, I know it wasn't directed towards him, but we know how it sounded. Those guys in the locker room, man, Mike McCarthy's lost that locker room. And it might be the same for John. I'm dead serious. It might be one of those situations. He might have really lost the locker room and hasn't realized it yet. Maybe the franchise hasn't realized it. Maybe EDC or Steve has not realized that Harbs has lost the locker room. They don't take him seriously anymore. Because there's no way you can keep coming to the media saying you're addressing this issue and the issues keep happening over and over again. Like, in what world does that happen with a well-coached, disciplined team? It doesn't happen. If this was an issue for the Niners, Kyle Shanahan's getting this together. This wouldn't be an issue for the Lions because they're well coached and disciplined. If they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, that gets fixed immediately. Good, disciplined football teams will fix their issues if they're making mistakes. But this team is nothing like that. Are we fully sure that this is really Harbaugh's fault? I really got to think about this right now. Are we sure that Harbaugh's not doing his job? Are we sure he's not preaching this to the players? Because there's a possibility. I'm really starting to think about this right now. There's a possibility that when it comes to these penalties, when it comes to these dumb decisions that's causing the turnovers, maybe Harbaugh is preaching this, but he's lost the locker room, so nobody's really taking his words to heart. Is it possible? Is it really possible that Harbaugh has just lost the locker room and nobody in the building knows it yet? Like, everybody's putting up a front, like the players might be putting up a front because he's still the coach and they have to show respect to him, but they don't really believe in his words anymore. They're not really feeling what Harbaugh's saying. He really might have lost the locker room. Because I'm really just thinking a disciplined football team with a coach that is respectable and has the locker room on his attention. You see it with Detroit. If a mistake is being consistently made, it's addressed, it's fixed, and it doesn't happen like that consistently moving forward. He has been speaking on fixing this penalty issue for the Ravens since week 1. We are sitting here at week 11. And yet, this same issue is here. Maybe it is a situation where it's not necessarily hard. Again, sometimes coaches may not sense when they've somewhat either lost respect from their players in terms of their players not respect them anymore. Maybe it's a situation like that, or maybe it's a situation where he's lost the locker room but doesn't know it, or maybe he's on the verge of losing the locker room. I'm really trying to think because it's either he's not practicing what he's preaching or they're just not listening to him. And if they're not listening to him, there's nothing Harbaugh can do. If you're telling them, guys, we got to get these penalties down, and he's addressing it in practice, and they're just not listening to him, there's nothing you can do at that point. There's nothing you can do at that point. So, yeah, that might be an actual aspect to really look into. Maybe Harbaugh's lost either they no longer respect him or he's just lost the locker room entirely and he hasn't realized it yet. Neither has EDC or Steve. Maybe they haven't realized that the players no longer vibe with the coaching philosophy of John Harbaugh. That might actually be the case. And that's crazy to think about. Because if that's the case, he shouldn't be here. If that's the case, he should not be here. If they don't respect him like that, if he's really lost the locker room, he should not be here anymore. So it's either he's lost the locker room, they no longer respect him, or he's not practicing what he's preaching. Which one is it? That's for us to just think about. We got to contemplate that. But other than that, it's just the Ravens continue to be undisciplined. Like I said, their first round exit. The defense, if you saw they played against the Steelers, it feels like the defense figured something out. If you actually take out the trash, you can improve. Marcus Williams has been awful. He's rated as the second worst safety in the National Football League. He hasn't done squat. And it took them 11 games to realize, hey, Ardarius Washington is playing like one of the best safeties in football. If we just play two high safeties with Hamilton and Washington, we're not going to have problems in the secondary anymore. If you watch that game, did anybody challenge Ardarius Washington like that? Did anybody challenge Kyle Hamilton? Did anybody really look to challenge Marlon Humphrey? When we saw Russell Wilson throw in his direction, Humphrey got the pick. Wiggins held his own. The secondary actually looked a bit like the secondary we saw last year. The only person that stuck out in this game, though, was Brandon Stevens, who kept getting cooked over and over and over again by George Pickens. So maybe Tre'Davious White should take that starting role. I'm just saying, this is just things a smart football team would do. Belichick would notice these things and he would just make the call. It's never about a pride thing. If you're not the right person for the right role and you're not doing your job, you're going to sit on the bench. If Belichick was running this team, Marcus Williams would have just been benched permanently weeks ago. He'd run too high safeties long ago. Brandon Stevens would have been benched. They would have ran any other the corner. He would have limited this man's snaps as much as possible. And now that you got Tre'Davious White, did you see how he played? Now, again, it's only a small sample size, but at least he did a good job getting his head around and contesting the ball against George Pickens. Maybe you put Tre'Davious White as the starting corner. You've got Marlon. Right now, Arthur Millette is out. So that's where things get tough. Arthur Millette is out. So while Millette is out, you put Marlon Humphrey on one side. You put Tre'Davious White on the other side. You put Wiggins in the slot. That's all good for the corners. You have your two high safeties with Hamilton and Ardays Washington. It's all good. When Millette gets back, you could put Millette right back in the slot. You still have Marlon Humphrey on one side, and then you could put Nate Wiggins on the other side, and then you can rotate between Nate Wiggins and Tre'Davious White. That's a smart move. That's what a smart football team would do. You would realize the liability in your defense, and you would make the adjustments. It took them 11 games to realize that with Marcus Williams. Do you think they're going to eventually pick up on that with Brandon Stevens? You don't have to pay this dude next year, so it doesn't matter if he rides the bench. He doesn't have a contract. He's not going to be here next year. Smart teams make these changes. But, it is what it is. Offensively, I mean, it's more or less the same. They're not going to make those changes on the offensive line. Patrick McCarry keeps making mistakes, penalty-wise, and Faalele continues to be a liability at times. They're not going to make the change. They're not bringing back Voorhees into the starting lineup, and they're never going to start Ben Cleveland. That's just going to be it. You would assume a team that would see these glaring weaknesses would make the adjustments, but it ain't happening. It's not happening. You have to accept it. There's just times out there where you look at Nelson Aguilar and you just get moments like that where it's just like he's lost for words. He's just lost for words because you're lost for words, excuse me. There's just times where he just does things on the field where he's just lost for words. Like he's supposed to be blocking somebody, he just doesn't do his job, and it's just like there's issues with the Ravens offense, from the play calling to the execution with the offensive line to the execution with the receivers at times. Sometimes they just don't look like they're in the same sync with Lamar Jackson, and this is weird. It hasn't been a problem too much this season, but the fact is, in the losses, the same issues that showcase themselves in the AFC title game showcase themselves in that loss. So there's something about Todd, man. There's something about Todd. That is a concern. You would have to have that concern. The conversation would have to be made. He's always had a reputation of getting a bit too pass happy in these type of situations. So a good head coach would have a conversation and say, hey, we've got Derrick Henry. We cannot be keeping him on the sideline in the fourth quarter, not be giving him the football. Again, I want to reiterate, in the 4 losses the Ravens have suffered, Derrick Henry has not been on the field in the fourth quarter. I think he's gotten 2 total carries in the 4 losses. You're not going to win You brought this guy here to help you close out games or to help you win in these moments. And he's standing on the sideline in the key situations. I don't care how the passing game goes. You can show me, well, they got success here and they were able to move the ball. Just this, not. No. You brought Derrick Henry here to be a part of the offense in the fourth quarter. Are you really telling me the fact that they're doing this in 4 losses, they've done this? It shows me come playoff time, they're going to do this. This is who they are. Come postseason, in the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry's not going to be on the field if they need to try to pull a comeback to try to tie the game up. Derrick Henry's not going to be. They'll be at the start of the fourth quarter. It'll be full 15 minutes left. They could be down 5. Derrick Henry's not going to be out there. He's not going to be out there. This team, they're not a smart football team. I actually saw some things. I think Chris Broussard. I didn't watch anything, but while I was trying to look at the injury report, because Roquan is dealing with a hamstring, I believe, so we haven't gotten any updates on that. But Chris Broussard, he said something very interesting about the Ravens, and it still holds up. It's still, oh my God, oh my, wow. Dog, I really do check out, huh? I really do check out. I completely forgot. Today's Monday Night Football. The Cowboys and the Texans are playing right now. Let me see this real quick. Wow. I think the Texans right now are up 27-10, but the game's basically over. I completely forgot there was Monday Night Football today. Dog, I'm not even joking. When the Ravens lost, I disconnected. I'm not gonna lie. Every Ravens loss, I just disconnect. I just don't care, and I just go do other things. I completely forgot today was Monday Night Football. Thank God. I mean, it was the Cowboys and the Texans. Ain't nobody care about this game. Dallas ain't even got anybody serviceable out there. Dak's done for the year. So you got Cooper Rush or whoever else playing. Anyway, let me look for that Chris Broussard. He said something. He said something about the Ravens that I wanted to reiterate. There it is. The Ravens are not a smart football team. They look like a team that is not smart or disciplined every single week. I like John Harbaugh. They don't look well coached. I mean, is there anything else that needs to be said? I'm going to repeat the statement I just saw from Chris Broussard. The Ravens are not a smart football team. They look like a team that is not smart or disciplined every single week. I like John Harbaugh. They don't look well coached. I mean, this is what we've been saying all season. Hell, this is what we've been saying for years. Is there anything else that needs to be said? I mean, fans are going to make excuses and say the players, they would have done this, would have done. Coaching matters, and we see it every single week. You don't think coaching in Detroit matters? You don't think coaching in Kansas City matters? It matters. Coaching is a huge difference. It matters. This is an undisciplined football team that doesn't play smart football and are not well coached. You're not going to win a Super Bowl like that. You're just not. You're not going to win us. You're not even going to sniff anything close to that. You're a one and done team. A undisciplined football team that's not smart or well coached. They're a first round exit waiting to just happen. You're a first round exit. You don't do anything smart. Again, I reiterate this. It took them 11 games to fully realize that Marcus Williams should not be on the field and they should run two safeties. I have to specify both of these because when they benched Marcus Williams that 1 week against Cleveland, they still threw out three safeties. They threw out Eddie Jackson, and that was a disaster. Eddie Jackson's been awful. He's been benched permanently. Marcus Williams needs to be benched permanently too. You should run two eyes. The only reason Marcus Williams can see the field is if Kyle Hamilton's hurt or Darius Washington's hurt. It took them 11 games to realize that they should have just ran two-eye safety. Because Kyle Hamilton's an all-pro safety and one of the top 5 safeties in the football. And our Darius Washington's been having a great year and has played like one of the best safeties in football. Do you know people are looking at the stats right now with the Ravens defense? Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton have been having all-pro seasons. They've been looking like the best in their position, or one of the best in their positions. Nate Wiggins has one of the lowest coverage weights. You can't get anything going with Nate Wiggins covering you. He's having a really good rookie season. You can't get completions when you throw to Nate Wiggins. Our Darius Washington's actually played like one of the best safeties in football. So that's 4 players on your defense that's been great in the secondary. Yet you are the worst pass defense in football. And nobody wanted to question the guy that's the second worst safety in the National Football League. Nobody wanted to say that. I mean, come on. It took you 11 games to realize that? And it's still taking the time to realize that Brandon Stevens needs to be down too. Now, maybe with the Brandon Stevens one, at least with that one, I might give some leniency. Maybe they put Tre'Davious White in next week. But I might give some leniency with Brandon Stevens because I understood Anthony Millette was hurt. Anthony Millette was hurt. So there's no other substitute to put in for Brandon Stevens. If Anthony Millette was, Arthur Millette was hurt. He was out for a significant time. So I understood why having Brandon Stevens there. He came back and he got hurt again now. He got hurt against Pitt. He got hurt at practice. He couldn't do anything in this game because he got hurt in practice. But when he gets back, I don't see why you can't have Nate Wiggins on one side and then have Marlon Humphrey on the other side. And then you have Arthur Millette in the slot. And then you rotate between Nate Wiggins and Tre'Davious White. That's how you should do it. I promise you, if you do that, with Roquan Smith actually not having to do everything and cover up for the mess of Marcus Williams, you wouldn't have a problem. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how everybody was trying to blame Roquan Smith for the issues with the coverage when it came to covering receivers? Everybody was blaming him, saying he looked awful this year. Then all of a sudden, the Ravens played two high safeties. Marcus Williams is not on the field. And all of a sudden, Roquan Smith looks like the second best linebacker in football. It's interesting how he had the best game of the season with no Marcus Williams out there. Don't you find that funny? Don't you find that interesting? They played two high safety, and all of a sudden, Roquan looks like the Roquan we know and love. Interesting. I'm very interesting. Because again, people were killing Roquan Smith all season. All of a sudden, he plays against Pittsburgh. They play two high safeties, so he doesn't have to do everything and be stuck on an island. They play two high safeties, and Marcus Williams doesn't touch the field. And all of a sudden, Roquan Smith looks like Roquan Smith again. It's very funny how that works. Almost like he was being used as a scapegoat to cover up for some guy that wasn't doing his job. Very interesting how that happens. Now, I'll give you some optimism here because, again, we have to give some optimism. As Ravens fans, I always say the most simplistic thing you can do as a Ravens fan is hope. We can hope for this defense. We can. Because if this game is a sign of everything, if this game is a sign of anything, if the Ravens actually make the adjustments they need to make, the defense will perform a lot better. They held Pittsburgh out of the end zone. They gave up 6 field goals. They did their job. It was bend but don't break. They didn't look perfect. They gave up 300 total yards. I get it. But they didn't let them get in the end zone. I think this defense can look a lot better. Not to mention, the Steelers had a lot of possessions in the game because the Ravens offense kept punting the football. If the Ravens was playing what Ravens was supposed to play, Pittsburgh's probably not going to do anything. But there's always a lot of what-ifs with the Ravens. This is just who they are. But if there's any positive sign to look at for the defense, if they just make the right adjustments, I don't think you would have to worry about this defense being awful down the stretch. They'll be serviceable. All they got to do is be middle of the road, and you could use the middle of the road defense to get to the Super Bowl. If you look at it, you never let Marcus Williams touch the field unless one of the other two gets injured. That means if Ardarius Washington or Kyle Hamilton gets injured, then you have no choice but to play Marcus Williams. But if both of them are healthy and on the field, Marcus Williams should be sitting himself on the bench. Almost swore. He should be sitting himself on the bench, and he should not be there. You're going to have to wait a little while. But me personally, I'm willing to bench Brandon Stevens and put in Tre'Davious White. That's the final key to this defense. Marcus Williams, Eddie Jackson, and Brandon Stevens just doesn't play. You put Tre'Davious White out there, and at this point, you got Marlon Humphrey on one side, you got Tre'Davious White on the other side, you got Nate Wiggins right now in the slot, or if you want to switch it, you can put Nate Wiggins outside, Marlon in the slot, Tre'Davious White on the other side. I'm just telling you, the next thing they need to do, the final thing they need to do is bench Brandon Stevens and put in Tre'Davious White. Once you get Arthur Millette back, I promise you make these adjustments, the defense will not be a problem moving forward. So there is some optimism. I can't give you much optimism about the offense when it comes to taking on teams like Pittsburgh or Kansas City. They're going to flame out again. I don't know what optimism I can give you. I don't know what optimism I can give you about that because I don't even know where you can start with fixing the problems. They're clearly going to continue to rock with this offensive line. They're not benching Patrick McCarry and bringing back Voorhees. They're not benching Falele and putting in Ben Cleveland. It's not happening. So you're going to have to accept this O-line the way it is. I can't change the receivers in terms of how they're going to be in these moments. I can't do anything about that. So the offense is the offense. The only thing I could potentially try to do is hope somebody talks to Todd Monken and tells him, like seriously, somebody needs to get in Todd Monken's head and tell him to stop being so damn pass happy. Dude, use Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. I don't care how much we're down by. Can you please use the best running back in football, or if you want to say Saquon's number one, can you please use the second best running back and a future Hall of Fame back? Can you see that guy 22 right there? You see that guy 22. You see that guy 22 on the sideline. Todd, do you see that guy 22 on the sideline? As a future Hall of Famer, can we please use our future Hall of Fame running back in the fourth quarter? That's all I have to say about Todd Monken. Stop getting so pass happy. This has always been an issue with Todd Monken. This has always been an issue with Todd Monken. Even when he was in Tampa Bay, this was an issue. When he was in Cleveland with Baker and OBJ, this was an issue. He gets way too pass happy. He knows what he's doing in the pass game, but his fascination with getting too pass happy can ultimately cost you. Dude, you have a Hall of Fame running back. Please play him in the fourth quarter. He's been the number 1 or number 2 back all season. He plays his best in the fourth quarter. He gets better as the game goes on. Please, 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 please use your Hall of Fame running back in the fourth quarter and stop trying to get so damn pass happy. Please. Please. The dude had 65 yards and a touchdown. And you didn't. Through 3 quarters, he had 65 yards and a touchdown. This dude was well equipped to having another 100-yard game and maybe 2 rushing touchdowns. Can you please use this guy in the fourth quarter and stop being so damn pass happy? I don't care how much we're down by. We were down by what? We were down by what, 3? Maybe 5? Stop getting so damn pass happy and use your Hall of Fame running back. Thank you. Please do me a favor. Like that's my only thing. I don't need to talk about the offensive line because they're not changing. It's too late in the season for them to even want to make that type of test. They're not. I mean, it's not too late, but we know the Ravens. It's too late for them. If they wanted to make that offensive line change, they would have made it weeks ago. So the offensive line is not going to change. This is what they're going to take to the playoffs. Good luck, Lamar. The receivers are the receivers. Again, they have talent, but some reason they disappeared. I'll say this, Bateman did not disappear. I mean, when Bateman needed to make catches at times, he was making it. I don't know what Zay Flowers was, but Bateman was actually making some catches. So, yeah. And people are starting to realize Bateman might have to be number 1. Zay Flowers is twitchy and can be utilized everywhere. But, I don't know, Bateman might have to be Lamar's number 1 target because, like, that guy just wins one-on-one matches. Zay can move anywhere. He can move all over the field, and he's so twitchy and is amazing. He's having a great year. But Bateman just wins one-on-one matchups. And in the playoffs, you've got to go to the guy that's going to win that one-on-one matchup. You're going to have to use Bateman a little bit more. I'm not going to lie. Like Bateman might have to be the go-to guy in those situations. You can continue to use Zay Flowers all over the field, but Bateman might have to be that go-to guy late in the game where it's just like you need a receiver to just beat a guy off the line of scrimmage one-on-one. Because Bateman, if there's anything he can do, he can beat a guy off the line of scrimmage one-on-one and get open. That might have to be the guy. But, yeah, the offensive line is not going to change. All you can do is tell them stop committing penalties. Play some disciplined football. Can't change much about the offensive weapons. I think it comes down to just telling them to play disciplined football, stop committing so much penalties, and please get in Todd Monken's ears and tell him to stop getting so damn pass happy. You tell them to stop getting so damn pass happy, you'll be fine. Also, please try to utilize other guys. I'm not going to lie. There's been times where we've seen Tylan Wallace make plays here and there, and obviously we saw his breakout game against the Bengals. Please give that guy more snaps. Please give that guy more snaps. Like please give that guy more snaps. Let's stop being dumb here. Give the guy more snaps. He deserves to have more snaps and actually try to go do something out on the field. Please stop watching him do well and then proceed to bench him. It's dumb. He balled out and we just benched him. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's actually crazy that we just keep watching this happen, and it's just bad. This is bad. But, yeah, I don't think there's anything else for me to say. Trying to see if there's anything. That's a crazy statement. Trying to see if there's anything else that was said. Because, again, I didn't pay attention to the media about the Ravens. I know on Get Up, they were cooking Todd Monken for being stupid and not using Derrick Henry. So that was actually funny. Other than that, I don't think anything else is being said. Also, Shannon Sharp was so confused as to why they didn't use Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. I mean, the media is just starting to wake up and realize that the Ravens are just a dumb football team that doesn't do anything smart. They rely on their talent and vibes, and they think that's going to get them to the Super Bowl. They're an undisciplined, unintelligent football team that relies on their talent and continues to make the same mistakes over and over again that has cost them in previous years. Like, they don't learn. They don't learn. They don't grow. They don't change. They don't adapt. That's who they are. Just negligence. They're an undisciplined, poorly coached, unintelligent football team. And the media's woken up and realized that. You know how bad it is when the media sits back and says the Ravens' biggest enemies is themselves? Dude, if you're your own worst enemy, that says a lot about you. That is a bad thing to be your own worst enemy. Are you that poor at your job that you're your own worst enemy? How bad do you have to be as a football team where everybody's pointing the finger and saying you're your own worst enemy? They're pointing out your deficiencies in coaching. They're pointing out your deficiency in play calling, your deficiencies in discipline, your deficiencies in decision making. This is a poorly coached, undisciplined, unintelligent football team that makes the same mistakes over and over again. That's so bad. You got these analysts on national TV calling you out for being a dumb football team. And you ain't gonna do nothing to change it but continue to be who you've always been. This is who you've been. This is who you've been. It's been pathetic. This is who the Ravens are. And that's why I call them paper tigers. Because at the end of the day, they've got all the fluff. They've got all the bite and the growl. No, they ain't got the bite. They got the growl. They've got the fluff. They make you think they can take on anybody and beat anybody. But when it comes to actually being able to bite and stand up with the tough of the tough, the top of the top, they can't do it. They can hang. They could be within the conversation and try to hang, but they can't beat them. They're not that team. They're not that team. They're the 2022 Dallas Cowboys. That's who they are. And they're due for a wild card loss. Everybody can see it but the Ravens. Can it be changed? You have 6 weeks. If the Ravens, actually start using their brains, there's a lot of things you can do. Like I said, they bench Marcus Williams. Just don't put him out there. Bench Brandon Stevens. Start Tre'Davious White. When Millette gets back, you can rotate between Wiggins and White, however you want to do it. You run 2 high safeties. And then you just let these guys go and do what they did against Pittsburgh for the rest of the season. You do that defensively. Offensively, you would fix this offensive line by realizing that Makari's just not it. You put Voorhees back there and see what he can do. You got a few weeks to at least see if Voorhees can hang because Makari is starting to get exposed. Falele's been bad all season, and they just keep ignoring that. It'd be nice for a smart football team to try Ben Cleveland, but this is not the smart football team. This is the Baltimore Ravens. So they're not going to do that. Excuse me for a second. I knew that was my phone. Sorry, just had to take that phone call. What was I saying? Oh yeah, a smart football team would probably try Ben Cleveland and see what he can do, but this isn't a smart football team. I mean, it's just Baltimore Ravens, led by John Harbaugh. They are who we thought they were, so ain't nothing gonna change. But yeah, you would do that. A smart football team would do that. A smart head coach would hold his team accountable. Maybe there should be more penalties for committing penalties. Don't you think there should be a punishment for having all these damn penalties? Don't you think you should as a head coach you should be more aggressive towards stopping this? Hold your players accountable for committing so many damn penalties. Maybe it's time to stop being a friendly coach and actually start coaching these damn players and holding them accountable for this incompetence. Maybe if you would do your job better as a head coach, maybe they would stop committing so many damn penalties. Maybe if you would hold your coordinators accountable for when they do idiotic things like they do, you'd be a better head coach. You know, a better head coach would go up to their offensive coordinator and say, dude, we have Derrick Henry. Please hand him the ball in the fourth quarter. Derrick Henry should not be standing next to me in the fourth quarter. You got this dude in the sideline standing next to Harbaugh and stuff. That should not be happening. If Harbaugh was worth half, if he was worth half his reputation, he would go up to Todd Monken and say, dude, you're doing a great job with the play calling. I'm not going to take away what you're doing in the past game. It has worked for us much this season. But you got to understand, in the 4 losses we've suffered this season, you have not put Derrick Henry out on the field. We bought this man here to help us close out games. We brought him here for these moments in the fourth quarter to help us win football games. I need you to dial down the passing games and give these opportunities to Derrick Henry. I'm not saying you can't pass the ball in the fourth quarter. Obviously, you have to. But our bread and butter right now, a smart football team leans into their strength. The Ravens cannot be stopped when they utilize play action. When Lamar is under center, they run that 22 personnel with Derrick Henry in the backfield. When he fakes the handoff, guys are just open. If we would run more plays like that, we'd be fine. You line up under center. You give Derrick Henry the football in the fourth quarter. The Steelers' defense is tired. You're going to wear them down. It's just smart. Derrick Henry gets better as the game goes. The defense gets more and more tired as the game goes. By the fourth quarter, Derrick Henry's still rumbling. The defense is getting tired. Plays can be made. So if you're worth half your reputation as a head coach, you talk to your offensive coordinator and tell him we've got to give our Hall of Fame running back at least a few carries in the fourth. Can we get him involved? That is what a smart head coach does. A smart head coach is going to hold his coordinators accountable, talk to them to fix these issues. He's going to hold his players accountable and fix these issues. That's what a great head coach does. That's what a smart head coach does. But we have John Harbaugh, so none of this is going to be addressed. I'm sure we're going to lose another football game where Derrick Henry doesn't touch the field in the fourth quarter. I'm sure we're going to lose another football game where the Ravens commit 12 penalties. I'm sure we're going to lose another football game where the Ravens decide to turn the ball over for absolutely no reason. I'm sure we're going to lose another football game because they keep Brandon Stevens in and he gets cooked by their best receiver. It's going to happen. It's going to happen again, and we'll just have to deal with it. Once again, this is who they are. We are the Baltimore we beat ourselves Ravens. And that's what we've been for the last decade plus. And that's what we will continue to be as long as Harbaugh's here. Unless serious changes are made, the Baltimore Ravens will be a first-round exit. And there's nothing you can do about it, folks. Accept it. Or you can hope that they actually address these issues properly, get themselves fixed by the time the playoffs roll around, and maybe this time they won't disappoint their fan base and they won't choke in the postseason. But we know it's coming because we don't trust John Harbaugh, and he's been like this for a decade now. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. I see a bunch of comments here, so it's time for me to kind of switch out. I decided to come out with the glasses and my vacation hat because I felt that was the way to come out. Honestly, the overall theme of this look is basically saying we're that much closer to vacation. With the way the Ravens are playing right now, we are that much closer to vacation, Ravens flock. We're getting real close to vacation time. Real close. You got 6 guaranteed games left. The Ravens have 6 guaranteed games left. And with the way they're playing football, I don't know if they're going to get more than 6. They might get 7, but that might be the end of them. So we're getting really close to the offseason, which is why I have my Ravens travel hat, my vacation hat, and I got my sunglasses, because that kind of just represents what the Ravens are right now. They're a team that's very close to vacation time. A first-round exit, and everybody can see it but them. If significant changes aren't made, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be a wild card team, and they're going to be a first-round exit. With that being said, let me switch out of this. Where's my other hat? Let me put you down. Let me take the sunglasses off. Woo! You cannot wear sunglasses. Take them off. It becomes an entirely different case, man. So bright. It ain't even that bright, but it's bright to me because, wow, I've been wearing them sunglasses the last hour. Oh, man. Okay, so. Oh, my God, the lights are getting to me. I wore those glasses for an hour. Woo, it's bright in here. With that being said, I have said my piece. I have rambled on for the last hour. I'm going to spend the last half hour plus reading your guys' comments and letting you speak because I want to know what you guys have to say. By the way, I didn't actually put this in the title. I guess I could fix this now, but this is the week 11 therapy session if I didn't put in the title. I did not. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'll edit this later on, and I'll edit it and put week 11 therapy session. This is the week 11 therapy session. I'm not doing like this and then doing it there. This is week 11 therapy session. This is where you guys come in to express your grievances, and I say my take, and that's just how it is. So, yeah. Welcome to week 11 therapy session. Wow, I didn't do a good job in expressing that is what this is. But, you know, it is what it is. We kind of just got into it, you know. I saw you guys came with the energy immediately, and I had to match that. So let's get into some of these comments. As soon as Derrick Henry fumbled, I knew what it was from there on. Yeah, one thing that I didn't actually mention throughout my whole tyrant is that the Ravens... another thing the Ravens are is a paper... another reason why the Ravens are paper tigers is because they crumble every time they turn the ball over. If the Ravens turn the ball over or Tucker misses a field goal early on, watch out. The Ravens crumble and don't recover. That's who they are. They can't handle adversity. When they deal with adversity early on, via turnover, they crumble. If they don't turn the ball over to the best team in football, but when they turn the ball over once, the offense just crumbles and they don't look the same for the rest of the game. It's so weird. But yeah, once Derrick Henry fumbled, I knew how that game was going to go. I knew. We're a top-of-the-middle pack team right now. Yeah, I mean, the highest point is we're a playoff team, wild card round team. That's it. You're probably not getting past the wild card round with the way you're playing football right now. Harbaugh does the same thing to be predictable. Yes, he does, and he's not going to change. This is who he's been the last decade plus. He was like this in 2014 when we blew it against the Patriots in the playoffs. He was like this in 2016 when we blew it against the Steelers. He was like this in 2017 when we blew it against the Bengals. He has not changed. This is who he is. Ravens Chargers might be for the 5th seed. It is for the 5th seed because the Chargers are 7-3. We're 7-4. That definitely is for the 5th seed. The winner of that gets the tiebreaker, so yeah, that's just how it's going to come down to. The funniest part wasn't the Henry carries, but not having him in on the 2-point conversion. I didn't even talk about him not being on the 2-point conversion. Just stupid. But yeah, that was just a dumb decision. Someone's got to talk to Todd about that, but we don't have a head coach that actually holds his coordinators accountable, so that's not going to happen. It was honestly the stupidest thing I've ever seen, even if it was still going to be a Lamar keeper. Dude, just having Derrick Henry on the field, he takes the emphasis. Can you imagine a situation where if he was on the field next to Lamar, you could have had Derrick Henry running one way and Lamar running the other way. That would have at least taken some of the defenders. The reason why you have Lamar and Derrick Henry on the field together is because you have two guys that you have to put your attention on. So you don't know where the football's going. That's the point. You're telling me Lamar couldn't have Derrick Henry next to him, fake a handoff, and then take it himself? We literally did that to get the 2-point conversion the previous week against the Bengals. If you wanted to run that play, Derrick Henry has to be there. That's just smart football. We don't play smart football. And that's why we are what we are. That we beat ourselves Ravens. Ravens Steelers is no longer a rivalry until the Ravens beat their team. The Ravens Steelers is a rivalry as much as the Celtics Sixers is a rivalry. If right now, the Ravens Steelers is the NFL version of the Celtics and Sixers. The Sixers can't beat the Celtics to save their lives. Like the famous Joel Embiid quote, it's not a rivalry. They always kick our ass. That's just what it is. Excuse my language, I had to give that quote. But it's not a rivalry. They always beat us. They're 8-1 in the last 9 matchups. Without Lamar Jackson there, they always got smoke for us, and they always come away victorious. So it's not a rivalry. We can't call it that. If we don't want to recognize Cleveland being a rivalry, why should Pittsburgh recognize us as rivals when we can't beat them consistently? No, Brandon, I'm not watching the game. Baltimore, we got owned Ravens. That's a fun one. Ravens is not a rival to the Chiefs either. We can't beat them, so we're not a rival. They always beat us too. This team is not super. This team is not Super Bowl. We know they're not Super Bowl bound. Ravens are just like Vegeta. They just haven't realized yet they aren't the protagonists. One more like, I don't want to say it. I got love for my guy. Man, we Piccolo. We Piccolo. We Piccolo. The Ravens are Piccolo. I have half a mind to just say John Harbaugh, specifically TN. Because TN keeps trying. They keep talking about the man. Like, the man was supposed to be something. Back in Dragon Ball, he was a rival to Goku. You remember he was in the tournament. He took on Go. He was supposed to be this guy that was continuously improved. TN is always training. He's always training and looking to improve himself, but he can never compete with anyone else. He's never been on their level. Krillin is stronger than him, and that's just insane. It's insane. No matter how much TN trains, he's always in the same spot. That dude opened up a dojo in Super. Why would he open up a dojo? Who wants to be trained by TN, of all people? You're not going to get strong enough to be a relevant character in the Dragon Ball series being trained by TN. I literally want to say Harbaugh's TN. It's official. The Chiefs and Steelers own the Ravens. It's been official for years, buddy. Ravens fans just want to keep pretending that it's not. Chiefs repeat, wouldn't be surprised. I already got them going back to the Super Bowl. Ravens are in danger to get beat by the Steelers 3 times this season. Probably will happen, and no one won't be surprised. Mike Tomlin's press conference had me laughing. Called a timeout to see if they would run it again. Did it again. Because Tomlin owns Harbaugh and knows Harbaugh's habits. Let me pull up the Mike Tomlin quote that I've always talked about. And I know I like this quote. I know I liked this quote. Let me go to my Twitter page. On the Mike, I think I might have actually reposted this. On the Mike Tomlin quote that I've been talking about the last few weeks. This is back on October 12th of 2023. I believe that was after we had lost to them again. No, actually, no. He didn't say this in 2023. This was a quote that he had said years ago. This is what he said about the Ravens a few years back. I think it was back in 2021 where Mike Tomlin said about the Ravens. We know they don't play a full four. We know they don't play a full 4 quarters. Now, this is what Mike Tomlin said last season after we had beaten them. When it's a dying moment, they will try to burn the house down. So let me repeat this. Mike Tomlin on the Ravens back in 2021, I believe. We know they don't play a full 4 quarters. Mike Tomlin last season after beating the Ravens in week 5. When it's a dying moment, they will try to burn the house down. He knows this team. The man went to the press conference and admitted he saw what the Ravens were doing, called a timeout, and dared them to do it again because he knew they'd call the exact same play. So when the Ravens came out in the exact same play, the Steelers were ready for it because they had already changed their defense. Tomlin knows Harbaugh like this, and Harbaugh's so dumb he doesn't change the play. Or better yet, he calls a timeout. He doesn't even tell his offensive coordinator to change the play. You could say the offensive coordinator could change the play, but the head coach does have some power. If Tomlin calls timeout, it's time to play chess. Tomlin called timeout because he saw what you were going to do. Maybe Tomlin's going to put out a defensive set that's going to prepare for what you're about to do. So maybe you as a head coach should be smart enough to play this chess game with Tomlin. If he's going to call a timeout and he's going to change his defensive sets, I got to tell my offensive coordinator, run a different play. And matter of fact, that would have been a perfect time to bring Derrick Henry on the field because now they don't know what happens. This is playing. I'm sorry. We have Harbaugh as a coach, so we don't get to play these chess games. We don't. Andy Reid would have had an answer for this. We have Harbaugh, so we don't get to play chess. Tomlin can play chess. Harbaugh plays Connect 4. Burrow's playing elite. Imagine if they had a defense that was the high school level. Yeah, Zach Taylor needs to be fired. And it looks like Jamar Chase is sick of him too. And maybe Joe Burrow. I don't think Zach Taylor survives this season. I really don't. I don't see anything getting in Josh Allen's way. He has that it factor this year. We've been saying that about Josh Allen for years. They still have not gotten to a second AFC title game. I think they get back to the AFC title game this year, but they're going to lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's already written in script. It's so predictable. It's so predictable. It's so predictable how the playoffs are going to go. Baltimore, LA, and Denver are first-round exits. Houston and Pittsburgh is going to get smoked by Kansas City and Buffalo. And Kansas City is going to beat Buffalo in the most chaotic way possible. And Sean McDermott, it's going to be because Sean McDermott makes a dumb decision that ultimately costs him the game. It's so predictable, I've already written the script. Do not be surprised when Kansas City gets to the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. The only team that would have been able to mix it up was Cincinnati, and Cincinnati can't get themselves together. If Cincy was in the playoffs, they can go to Buffalo and beat them. They can go to Kansas City and beat them. They can go to Baltimore and beat them. They can go to Pittsburgh and potentially beat them. Cincinnati would have mixed up the playoffs and made things unpredictable. Instead, we know how things are going to go. You can keep telling me this is going to be the year Josh Allen gets it done. I'm not buying it. Just like I'm not buying the Ravens are going to magically get things fixed and go on a run. No, Kansas City's probably going to be back in the Super Bowl, and everybody knows it. If we get beat by the Steelers 3 times this year like we did in 08, I'm going to lose it. Just prepare yourself. It could very well happen. We know the Ravens offense will choke with play calling drops, Lamar missing passes, turnovers, or 3 out of 5 of those at least. I'd be shocked if we lost in the playoffs 35-32. Bro, I would be shocked if we lose a shootout. If we lost a shootout, that'd be a different change of pace. At least we can sit back and say, well, the defense has been trash all year. We expected this. But we know our offense is going to flame out in the postseason, and they have not shown us any reason not to believe that. They flamed out yesterday. They flamed out against the Browns. They flamed out against the Raiders. Despite having a 10-point lead. They didn't even show up against Kansas City until the fourth quarter. We've seen this time and time again. And in all 4 losses, they didn't use Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. It's predictable. That's why they call it. Right now, every time this happens, they're just saying the Ravens are in January mode. It's so predictable how the Ravens are going to lose. We all see it but them. And then Harbaugh's going to stand on the podium and say the same generic 2K answers in January when they lose another playoff game. And Lamar's going to be pissed and talk about how he's ticked off. And everyone's going to be like, well, buddy, that's your legacy. You're a choke artist. That's going to be the no, we don't have the context. People got to understand. Context does not travel through history. History remembers the winners and the losers. I want to repeat this. History remembers the winners and the losers. Nobody cares about how you won or how you lost. People remember the winners and the losers. Nobody's going to go give context about how you lost the game or how you won a game. Did you win? Cool. Great. Did you lose? Who cares? You don't deserve to be talked about. Joe Flacco won a playoff game where he was 4 of 10 for 34 yards in the interception. Does it count as a win? Yes. People like to act like Joe Flacco's this magical guru quarterback in the playoffs when really most of his stats come from one postseason run. Prior to that, people didn't even think this guy was good. Did you actually look at his playoff stats prior to 2012? It wasn't until 2011 where people started to say, hey, he can actually play in the playoffs. But 08, 09, 2010, go look at his stats. They're putrid. But they won playoff games, so nobody cared. History remembers the winners and the losers. So nobody's going to give context about what's happening with the Ravens of this era. They're just going to remember they had a Hall of Fame quarterback and they couldn't win with them. That's how it is. History remembers the winners. They don't remember the losers. Your legacy is impacted by wins and losses. Nobody cares how you win or how you lose. Your legacy is impacted by wins and losses. That's just how it is. That's going to be your legacy. So it is what it is. Ravens will be one and done as usual. Nothing new at this point. EDC and Harbaugh, Eagles failures. Ain't nothing going to change. We're already, everybody, I'm seeing it throughout the fan base. Everybody's prepping themselves for that January playoff loss. We all see a one and done team. Everybody sees it. People are trying to keep hope and faith up, but everybody sees it. This is a one-and-done playoff team. We know it. Andy Reid and Spags will shut the Ravens down, and John Harbaugh will look like Tim the Tool Man. We all know it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. So it is what it is. Flacco had one of the greatest playoff runs of all time. That's literally his legacy in the postseason. Prior to that, not really much. We had no business beating the Denver Broncos that playoff game. Thank you, Jacoby. Yeah, we had no business. People want to keep leaning on 2012 like 15 different things didn't happen that year that contributed to the craziness that was that magical run. And they think they can just restart that magic and just capsulate it and then bring it to this 2014. No, that's not how that's going to happen. Biggest difference from the 12 team to me is Steve B. He had pressure on Harbaugh and Flacco. You think Harb would fire his buddy mid-season now? Steve, as a new owner, wanted his Super Bowl. Now he won't even do a presser. Steve, he's making money. He doesn't care about winning. Steve doesn't care about winning a championship. He just wants to make money. And they're making money, so he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. And his action shows he doesn't care because Harbaugh would have been gone long ago. Changes would have actually been made. Or he would have actually put the pressure. He would have threatened this man with his job to get things fixed. But nah, nothing's changed. So we can tell Steve does not care. He just wants to make money. Which, again, as a businessman, that's fine. But you own a football team, and fans want to see the team win a championship. So you would like to see them care, but he doesn't care. He just wants to make money. Nothing will change. Makari will still start. Yeah, we know nothing will change, so it's best to accept it now than to keep arguing about it. The best chance for the Ravens and Lamar to win a Super Bowl was in 2019/2023. I don't agree with 2019. I agree with 2023. I don't agree with 2019. That was a situation that came out of nowhere. And I'm telling you right now, that 2019 team was not built to beat Kansas City in the AFC title game. So we can sit back and say their best. That 2019 team was not built to beat Kansas City. The 2023 squad was built to beat Kansas City. They just choked. But that 2019 Ravens team, that defense was good, but they weren't good enough to handle Mahomes. And they got smoked against the Chiefs in week 3, and people forget about that. That 2019 team was not good enough to beat the Chiefs. If they would have beaten the Titans, they probably would have got to the AFC title game and lost to Kansas City. They weren't good enough to beat the Chiefs that year. 2023, they were good enough to beat the Chiefs. They just choked at home. We were a complete team last year, both offensively and defensively. We were definitely a complete team. We have a better offense this year than last year, but we were a more complete team, and that defense was deadly. That Texans and Steelers and Chiefs own the Ravens. Pretty much. The team has one and done or divisional round. Don't even talk about the divisional round. They're not getting past the wild card round with the way they're playing. They're going to commit 12 penalties in the playoff game, turn the ball over 2-3 times, and they're going to lose like 20-15. But yeah, I'll say 20-17. They'll just lose a playoff game because a game-winning kick will happen, and everybody will be devastated. Common denominator, Mr. John Harbaugh. He ain't going nowhere. He's been the common denominator for 17 years now. Ain't nothing changing. Paying the offense too much. Would never understand why Queen didn't get resigned and others. Because they had to make a choice. Either pay Patrick Queen or pay Justin Madubuike. They chose Madubuike over Queen. They had to make a choice. They chose Madubuike over Queen. This offseason proves everything you're saying. Been saying it for years now, and I'm not the only one that's been saying it. Media right now going crazy, and the Ravens absolutely deserve it. They've been showing themselves to be this for years. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know what? I have not watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer in such a long time. That might be on the list. That might be, I don't know. I have to really think what game I'm going to watch. I'm not watching game. What show I'm going to watch when the Ravens ultimately lose in the playoffs. Because I'm going to need like a whole week and a half to like just watch that and just get away from football. So I'll figure it out. That's a thing for January. I think Lamar is hurt more than we know. That might be the case, but there's nothing you can do about it. Then maybe he needs the bye week to get himself back to 100. I don't know. So what was the point of losing weight to be faster and saying he should have ran against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game and said he would have ran if he wasn't hurt? But I don't believe that. Again, I'm making my speculations. I'm not saying what I'm saying is factual. That's just my personal speculations. I'm not speaking for the man. I'm just giving my personal take. Now, you're free to make whatever assessment you have about why Lamar's not taking off. I have made my personal take. Nobody talks about it, but even in 2012, they were second in penalties. Yes, they were. The luck that came with that 2012 team was a magical season that will never be repeated. The stuff Harbaugh be saying from his press sounds AI generated. Dude, it's generic 2K sim type comments. You can go to 2K and see a comment like that right now. Remember that meme with the Ravens 2022 cycles a couple years ago? I think someone needs to make a 2024 version. I think someone needs to make a version that can apply to any year. We don't need to make a 2024 version. The Ravens have been like this for over a decade now. You can tell Lamar is mad last night. Yeah, he's going to be pissed off, but ain't nothing going to change. A coach with a nice guy personality is not going to get the best out of a team of adult men. Harbaugh must adopt a tougher approach with players that are not doing their job. And if he's 17 years in as a coach, he's not doing that. When he was trying to prove himself as a coach back in 2008, he had that more of a aggressive personality as a coach. He doesn't have that fire anymore. He's not doing that. And even when he was acting aggressive, we all knew it wasn't going to fly with Ray and Ed. He could be aggressive to an extent, but he wasn't going to talk to Ray Lewis or Ed Reed like that, or T. Sizzle. It just was not going to fly. He was not talking to defense like that. That had to be pointed directly at Flacco. Most of Harbaugh's aggressions had to be deflected at Flacco in the offense. He was not going to talk to Ray in the defense like that, and we all knew it. All us fans were all mad last night. Not me. I was watching Family Matters. I wasn't mad. I was just watching Family Matters. Harbaugh needs to adopt the Bill Belichick rule. Do your job or go. That's not Harbaugh. It's never going to be Harbaugh. Harbaugh is too arrogant and too safe in his job for this. I've been on the fire Harbaugh train since 2020. I'm not anymore because it'll never happen. Boo when he see him. Boycott, whatever. Going nowhere. Nothing's gonna happen. Who's who's got it better than us, huh? That's what she says. Who's got it better than us? Everybody. We are 8-9 against the Steelers and 1-5 against the Chiefs. You mean we're 1-8 against the Steelers? They will lose the locker room before they lose Harbaugh, I'm telling you. We will never be bad enough with Lamar for any mutual partings either. Lamar's career will be wasted if Super Bowls are the measure. Well, I hope Lamar is fine being right next to Dan Marino because that's where his career is going to be. He'll be in the room with all the greats. He just can't sit at the table. You cannot sit at the table with the greats. You cannot sit at the table with Peyton. You cannot sit at the table with Brady. You cannot sit at the table with Rodgers and all these other guys. You can't sit at the table without at least a championship. Nobody cares if you bring all those MVPs and all pros and stuff. You'll get in the room. You'll be in the room. You can't sit at the table with the greats without the championship. That's why Dan Marino's always in the room. He's always in top 10 all-time conversations. He's always in the room, but Dan does not get to sit at the table with the guys because he has nothing to reminisce about. When they sit at that table, they reminisce about their championship runs. Aaron Rodgers can boast about 2010 all he wants. He can be as bad as he wants with the Jets. He still has 2010. If you don't have that, you can't sit at the table. Thing with the Cowboys, though, is more than just a coaching problem. Jerry Jones himself is also part of the problem. That's true, which is why they're a team that's they're a clown show. We know that. I don't think he lost the locker room, but they don't really respect him. That means that's kind of a sign that you've started to lost the locker room. Maybe he hasn't completely lost them, but if they don't respect you, you've started to you're starting to lose the locker room, and it's only a matter of time. Harbaugh won't discipline his favorite guys. He ain't doing nothing. Let's face it, y'all. We're becoming the Cowboys of the AFC. We're not becoming. We have become the Cowboys of the AFC. It's been like that for years. But the only difference between us and the Cowboys is we made an AFC championship game last year. So that's why we could sit back and say, we're not the Cowboys, because we made the AFC championship game last year. But the difference between us and the Cowboys is we won one game in the division round that they weren't able to do. So, yeah, congrats. You won 3 playoff games in 12 years. And one of them happens to take you to the AFC title game. So, whoop-de-damn-do. Let's not forget Harbaugh was on the verge of being fired in 2018 before Lamar saved his job. We've said this for years. We've said that for years, but nothing changes. If Clark Kent shows up, we're going to lose every single time. Pray for a miracle because we're going to lose heartbreakers in the playoffs with all these penalties. This is why you invest in good O-line. You know, the funny thing about that, Joshua, if you actually look at it, in the 7 wins that we have, Lamar has a passer rating of 114 or better. In the 4 losses we have, he has a passer rating well below 114. His highest passer rating in the loss was 103. That was against Cleveland. So basically, if Lamar's not playing on God mode, we can't win a football game. I want to reiterate this. In the 7 wins the Ravens had, in their 7 wins this season, Lamar, in each one of those 7 wins, has a passer rating of 114 or better. When the Ravens have lost, his passer rating is below 114. So in the 4 losses, he has a passer rating below 114. So if Lamar is Clark Kent, we lose. If he's Superman, we've got a chance to win. Yeah, Zeitler's going crazy in Detroit. Probably shouldn't have got rid of him. He didn't have a backup plan. Good job, DeCosta. Nelly keeps making mistakes, still getting snaps. He ain't going nowhere, unfortunately. This is what the Ravens do. They like their guys. Macari stinks. Put in Cleveland. Not going to happen. I hate Queen. No reunions when he retires. I mean, that's cool. He got his revenge. Baltimore didn't want him. So you can hate him, but the Ravens didn't want him. They didn't even offer him a contract. You can be pissed he went to the Steelers, but the Ravens didn't even give him a look. So how is he supposed to be at the franchise that drafted him, that he put his heart and soul, he poured his heart, soul, and tears to this franchise for 5 years. They didn't even give him a contract offer. They just let him walk and say bye. They didn't even talk to him. Yeah, you would be hurt too if a franchise did that to you. It's a business, but you'd be hurt after that. At least offer him something, even if it's a low deal. Offer him something. With the way Patrick Queen talking about it, Buddy might have actually taken a discount to come back to the Ravens. It's the fact that they just didn't offer him anything. And that's what hurt him the most. You didn't even give him a phone call. Y'all told him bye. That's kind of crazy, I ain't gonna lie. Macari and Falele are hardball guys and pro bowlers in his eyes. Yeah, those guys are going to get Lamar killed in January. At the bare minimum, why wasn't Henry in for the 2-point? We talked about that. Yeah, it was just dumb. Yeah, Tylan Wallace had the hot hand and got benched. Classic Ravens football. Yep, they don't even give Tylan any chances but once a year. They'll play him once a year and give him the opportunities, but other than that, he ain't really coming in. Hey, we are fake bullies? Yeah. When another team throws a punch, we fold. Yeah, once we turn the ball up, we fold heavily. That's why I hated the term Baltimore bullies. They don't deserve any of those previous terms from the Ray Lewis era. Need to die now. They don't deserve to live off the reputation that Ray built for this franchise. The reputation that Ray built, that Ed built, that Terrell Suggs built, that Haloti Ngata built, that all those guys on the defense built. They don't deserve to ride the coattails of that. Okay? They don't. If it was only possible, bro. It's only possible to clone some of these guys, man. You know, I still think about Jimmy Smith from time to time whenever I watch Brandon Stevens play. Because I'm just thinking, like, God, if Jimmy Smith was still, like, if he was just 5 years younger, could he play? Because I remember when it was Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey at times, it was just like, damn. So Ricky Marlon Humphrey still getting it together, but like Jimmy Smith was still locking down, bro. He's not a Hall of Famer, but damn, Jimmy Smith was good back in the day. Just injuries, man. That's a different conversation. Ravens run on pure reputation. They don't deserve to utilize that reputation anymore. Ray and the defense built that reputation. They don't deserve it. This era of Ravens football does not deserve to be able to coast on their previous reputation. They don't deserve that. Don't get too crazy now. Steelers don't really target the middle of the field. We will really see against the Eagles. That's true. Jalen Hurts, if there's anything he's gonna do, is throw the ball in the middle of the field. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, they tried to build off of what they did last week to try to make an assessment, take out Marcus, and see how they do moving forward. I mean, should we really be scared of the Eagles, though? I mean, scared, not scared. I don't trust the Ravens on a week-to-week basis anyway. So, the Eagles are one of the teams I thought we could lose to. I had our 5 losses like this. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and either Buffalo, Houston, or Philadelphia. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose to the Eagles. The problem with our team is we don't have that pace anymore. Eat up clock, then let the defense hurt. Can't play that style of football anymore because we don't have the team that's good enough. This Ravens defense can't make stops in the biggest moments. Every time you ask them to make a stop in the biggest moment, they can't do it. They haven't been able to do it in a decade. Damn, the Ravens defense hasn't been able to consistently make stops in the biggest moments since like the Super Bowl. The only other time I can remember the Ravens defense legitimately making the stop in the biggest moments was C.J. Mosley's interception against the Browns to take us to the playoffs in 2018. But we don't have a lot of moments past the Super Bowl where you sit back and say the defense made a stop. Can you imagine, dude, the Ravens defense, last time with Ray Lewis out there with Ed Reed and stuff, the Super Bowl came down to 4 plays at the goal line and the defense said no. Can you think this defense is going to make a stop at the goal line for a chance to win a championship? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Man, I miss those days. We took those days for granted. Don't get happy. We're gonna see against Greg Roman's pass concepts next week. Watch them lose to the Chargers and everybody lose their mind because we lost their Greg Roman offense. It's not Todd Monken, it's John Harbaugh because all our coordinators do this regular season or playoffs. Someone tells them to keep passing. Well, Todd Monken has had a specific issue. I'm not talking about Todd Monken in terms of how he adjusts to this team because, again, I have a statement about that. But I'm talking about Todd Monken's personal thing. Because Todd Monken has had this issue in Cleveland. He had this issue in Tampa Bay, which is why his time in the NFL had not been highly successful in some of the biggest moments, even though his passing offenses have been great. He tends to get a bit too pass happy. He got a bit too pass happy with Jameis. He got a bit too pass happy with Baker. So it's a personal problem that Todd Monken has. It just happens to be a coincidence that his biggest issue matches up with the Ravens' biggest issues every time come January. And in terms of that statement about the coordinators, this has been happening for years now. at some point, you got to look at the head coach. From Mark Trestman to Marty Morningway to Greg Roman to now Todd Monken. We keep saying the same thing about offensive coordinators, and nobody's pointing the finger at John Harbaugh that this is happening with the same guys you keep hiring. Or at least you and DeCosta keep hiring. After McCarry gets 2 penalties, he should be benched afterward. He's ruining drives. Ain't nothing going to change. Is Harbaugh being used to stop Lamar from winning a Super Bowl? That's a legit conspiracy theory. I'll let you deal with that one. That's just a conspiracy theory. All Lamar's got to do is be accurate and stop overthrowing everything. Sure, if he can get time to throw, because when he's had time to throw all season, he's been accurate and he hasn't been overthrowing people. But when you got 2 defenders in your face because your offensive line is getting destroyed, it's hard to be able to step into any throw or be accurate. Did you watch the game? At what time did Lamar really have time to be accurate? Lamar literally had a play where he ran around for 10 seconds just to create space and then threw the ball right to the chest of Zay Flowers and he drops it. Like, what do you want Lamar to do? I'm not saying Lamar is perfect. I'm not saying he doesn't take fault and blame in the loss. He absolutely does. There were throws he just flat out missed. But there was no protection for that guy all game. And he was running for his life the entire game. And that's what's going to happen when they meet up with the Steelers again. Ain't nothing changing. Nelly been making mistake after mistake, still gets put in. He ain't going anywhere. Greg Roman would have won this game for you, but you wanted a pass-happy offense. Greg Roman wouldn't have won this game for us. Greg Roman would not have won this game for us. He wouldn't have. He would have over-relied on Lamar Jackson's legs, and they would have shut that down. His passing concepts would have been just as bad, if not worse, than what we saw, and it just would have been a mess. Greg Roman would not have won that game for us. Have you watched Greg Roman play up against worse Steelers defenses and the team still stinks? And again, you guys don't seem to understand when we talk about it. It's not about just running the ball versus passing it. It's about situations. You cannot be a one-dimensional football. Why are y'all always like this? You just assume people like when you sit back and complain about not passing, now you're passing and you're complaining about running. It's not about just passing or running. It's about play calling in circumstances and situations in certain moments. You have to be a well-balanced team. You can't be one-dimensional. No one's saying the Ravens need to pass, or run. You have to be balanced. You cannot be one-dimensional. The Ravens did not, in the 4 losses the Ravens have played, in the 4 losses the Ravens have had this season, all 4 times, they did not use Derrick Henry in the 4th quarter. That means they willingly chose to become a one-dimensional football team by not running the ball. You have to be a well-balanced team to win in the National Football League on a consistent basis, especially against top teams. Do you know what a running game is doing for Josh Allen right now? I don't understand this. Y'all always just assume when we talk about you've got to pass more, you think we're trying to be like, oh, you need to pass. Now you got a coordinator that's going to pass, and you're saying we got to run. So which is it? Do you want to run or do you want to pass? We want to do both and be balanced. We want our offensive coordinator to be smart and make the right play call that fits the right situation and the right moments. Is that difficult to ask for your offensive coordinator to know how to do his job? In the 4th quarter, understand that you're going to have to throw the football, but you also need to run the football to establish balance. It's a football game. You need balance. Good God, why is it we always got to explain this to y'all people? Do you understand? You look at the Detroit Lions, they're balanced. They beat you in the run game. They beat you in the pass game. You've got to be balanced. It's not about just running or passing. It's about being balanced and attacking the defense with the right decision. Sometimes running the ball can help set up the pass game. Sometimes airing it out can take some pressure off and allow your running back to eat. It's about balance. Come on, guys. Why do we have to keep explaining this to y'all? Oh, God. Ravens are a dumb, undisciplined team that thinks they are smarter than everybody. It is what it is. Roman almost crumbled against the Bengals. Yeah, it is what it is. Funny enough, he did crumble against the Bengals in the playoff game with the Ravens. Greg is 1-4 against the Steelers. Why didn't the Chargers beat the Steelers? Cowboys got whooped again. Who cares? How about them Cowboys? Yeah, I mean, we're just beating a dead horse at this point. Let's be real. The Ravens are cooked. As long as we got Harbaugh, we are the better version of the Cowboys. We know we're not winning the Super Bowl. We're just going to continue to talk about the team. We got 6 more weeks, guys. Let's get through it. Get to January and see what happens. Might not even make the playoffs if we keep playing like this. We are 4-4 in the conference. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun seeing how this whole situation winds down. Luckily for us, we still have teams in the NFC. Maybe we can win those games, I guess. I'm tired of hearing we beat ourselves. We're not disciplined or smart. We are who we are. Get better. Like I said, Juju Bean, if you have to keep saying your team's beating yourself, you know what that means? That means you're an undisciplined football team. If you keep saying we beat ourselves, we beat ourselves, we beat ourselves, we beat ourselves today, that means you're an undisciplined football team. That's who you are. If Andy Reid had this roster, he'd go undefeated. Andy Reid is one of the greatest head coaches to ever play this game. He's up there with the greats. He's also one of the greatest offensive minds to ever coach this game. So we know what he would do with this roster. I think Tucker's a serious issue. People are that might be a legitimate question, but people are starting to actually take. I saw some pictures yesterday, and people are watching how Stout is actually placing the ball compared to how who just texted me? That was my mother. But people are looking at how Stout is placing the ball. And the placement of the ball might be the issue. The way he's placing it is not always clean. And it might be an aspect that's affecting it. Lamar is going to have to do what we did in 2012 and have a players-only private meeting and tell John they got it. I need Lamar to stop being so nice and trusting coaches. He's been more vocal, but yeah. That might be the best to help the situation. I don't know. That might be the best. That might be what the team needs, but I don't know if that's going to happen. We need to pray to the football gods that we do not waste Lamar Jackson just one. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're building a nice legacy of failure, guys. We're still a young franchise, but we're building a nice legacy of failure. If you don't win a championship with Lamar Jackson, that's a nice legacy of failure for this franchise. That's a huge stain on the franchise. I need this therapy session. My family and I deadass felt symptoms of heartbreak after that L yesterday. Hey, man, it is what it is. You just deal with it. Greg Roman did a better job play calling with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards than Tom Monken with King Henry. Never thought I'd say that. Well, you got John Harbaugh to thank for that in some cases, but you know it is what it is. What about that play when T.J. Watt came in unblocked and Derrick Henry gets bodied? Dude, the Ravens do this. Yeah, you're right, so dumb. You remember back in 2021 when they two-point conversion in 2021 in Pittsburgh. They let T.J. Watt go unblocked towards Lamar, and Lamar had to get rid of that ball quickly. If he had an extra second, he would have been able to get that ball cleanly to Mark Andrews, and then Mark Andrews walks in for a two-point play, and we win the game in Pittsburgh. But because they let T.J. Watt go unblocked, he got to Lamar so quickly. How do you think? It is what it is. Actually, we Napa or Raditz. Nah. It'd be funny to say we're Napa or Raditz, but we're not that bad of a team to where we could be Napa or Raditz. We're TN because we're just this. It's the same thing every year. There's this level of consistency. You can up the talent with the Ravens, but they always end up being the same. TN keeps training, but he's still TN. So we are perfect with the TN comments. We're not Raditz or Napa because Raditz is trash. We know that. We're not trash. We're TN because we're in this constant state of just being content. We continue to add talent to this team, but nothing changes. Just like TN keeps training, but nothing changes for him. We are TN. We are TN, probably more than we are Piccolo. Because Piccolo actually got an upgrade. I remember from the Dragon Ball superhero movie. Piccolo might not be the case for us. Buffalo might be Piccolo. We're TN. I'm going to take that back. We are TN. We are absolutely TN. Ravens fans are not powerless. How about bringing banners to home games to let the coaching staff know how you feel? Inaction is still action. Babies don't suffer in silence. They make noise to get things done. I mean, the fans did that with Greg Roman, and eventually he got him fired. Remember when they put the papers in the locker room about firing Roman? I don't know who snuck into the facility and did that, but apparently the message was taken because he was fired. The Lions may be our only hope of preventing a three-peat now. We're in Lamar's head now. That's why I just said. This guys like Peanut Brooks is an exact... Comments like this is exactly why I say we're not even the Baltimore Ravens. We're the Baltimore Lamars. He didn't even want to talk about the team. It's we're in Lamar's head. Really? You watched that whole game and said, oh, we're in Lamar's head. That's the reason we lost? You don't want to talk about your defense forcing a fumble from Derrick Henry who hadn't fumbled? Derrick Henry had not lost a fumble in 5 years. You don't want to talk about that? You don't want to talk about Isaiah Likely ripping the ball? Sorry, you don't want to talk about Patrick Queen ripping the ball out of Isaiah Likely's hands? You don't want to talk about one of your defensive players ripping the ball out of Justice Hill's hands? You immediately went to Lamar. This is how the outside looks to the Ravens. They don't care about the Ravens' issues as a whole. They don't care about the offense, they don't care about the defense. They just care about Lamar Jackson. We're the Baltimore Lamars. To the outside, to these other fans that watch us in the National Football League, to the media, we're the Baltimore Lamars. Because apparently, when we win, it's all Lamar. When we lose, it's all Lamar. Like, bro, your defense literally manhandled. Your front seven destroyed our offensive line. Your linebackers smoked both our tight end, who fumbled the ball, and our running back, who also fumbled the ball, which ended up being an interception. Like your defense literally did things to our entire offense, and the one thing you're saying is we're in Lamar's head. Like, what? This is how the rest of the league looks at us. They only care about Lamar. They don't talk about anybody else. Zay Flowers dropped a wide open pass. Lamar ran around for 10 seconds to make a play. He puts it right in Zay Flowers' chest. He doesn't catch it. Isaiah Likely fumbles the ball, gets stripped for absolutely no reason before halftime. The ball is in the hands of Justice Hill, and he lets it get ripped out of his hands. Derrick Henry has not lost a fumble in 5 years. He loses it yesterday, and yet Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals. All of this happened in the same game, and yet the only takeaway is we're in Lamar's head. You can't make this up. We're the Baltimore Lamars, man. Nobody cares about anybody else on this team but Lamar. You can't make it up. Don't even want to hold he didn't even mention the fact that Tomlin just pointing out another reason as to why he owns John Harbaugh. He said in his press conference he saw what the Ravens were going to do in the 2-point conversion, called a timeout, got the defense set, and dared the Ravens to run the same play again because he knew Harbaugh would do it, and they ran the exact same play and they blew it up. But your first thing you mentioned is Lamar Jackson. Nobody talks about football anymore. It's about the superstar players. Like, bro, there's other players on the team. Why is the first assessment just Lamar? Do you watch Buffalo and just assume Josh Allen's the only one out there? Do you watch Kansas City and just assume it's just Patrick Mahomes? Do you watch Cincinnati and just assume it's Joe Burrow? There are other players on the team that contribute to losses. Is it Joe Burrow's fault they just lost to the Chargers? Or did McPherson not cost them with 2 missed field goals? How do we just look at the superstar quarterbacks and just ignore everything else? NFL fans have turned into NBA fans. We don't care about the team. We care about the superstars. We don't talk about the Suns. We talk about KD and Booker. We don't talk about the Lakers. We talk about LeBron and AD. We don't talk about the Timberwolves. We talk about Anthony Edwards. What are we doing? Please don't turn this into NBA discourse. I'm not trying to deal with that. Because every time they talk about the Celtics, it ain't about the Celtics. It's about Jason Tatum. He's not top 10 and all this other stuff. Guys, football's a team game. Stop looking at one person and then making the assessment for the entire game when others contribute to a win or a loss. Please stop doing this. Who's the better coach, Harbaugh or Tomlin? Tomlin 10 times out of 10. Let's not even pretend. Glad we got Queen and Elliott. Like your coach says, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Enjoy them. Because against us, they gonna ball out. I'm just hoping we win one playoff game. You will. You will. Baltimore will go one and done. You'll win a playoff game in the wild card round, and you'll get beat by Kansas City or Buffalo in the division round. Everybody can see it. It's not even a surprise. Everybody can see it. Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. It's so predictable how the AFC is going to go. The Chiefs are going to go to the Super Bowl. It's not even a surprise anymore. The only team that could have mixed things up in the AFC playoffs is Cincinnati, and they're probably going to miss the postseason. So we already know how the script's going to be. It's Chiefs-Bills in the AFC Championship game. Chiefs head back to the Super Bowl. Nobody's going to be surprised. We know how it's going to go. I've explained this already with the script. Baltimore, Chargers, Denver all go down in the wild card round. Buffalo and Pittsburgh advance. Kansas City probably beats the crap out of one of these two. Buffalo handles the other. So either Pittsburgh's losing to Buffalo or Kansas City. The Texans are just here by default because they're going to beat whoever they beat in the wild card round. Kansas City, Buffalo in the AFC title game. Kansas City advances to the Super Bowl. It's so clear that's what's going to happen. Why do you think an arrogant jackass like Nick Wright can just run his mouth the way it is? Because he can see how clear it is in the AFC. It's so predictable. That's why he can run his mouth. We all can clearly see how it's going to go. The Bills got their annual regular season win against Kansas City. They won't beat them in Kansas City in the playoffs. And it'll be Sean McDermott's fault, like it's been the last few years. Like, it's so predictable, we can tell. You're not fooling anybody. That's why Cincinnati needs to be in the playoffs. They can mix things up. They can go to a Buffalo and win. They can go to a Kansas City and win. They can go to a Pittsburgh and win. They can go to Baltimore and win. We need the Bengals to mix things up and make it interesting for football fans. I was really pissed yesterday and about to hang up my fan jersey, but now since I've seen your video, it's hilarious how predictable this is, and there's no reason to get mad. This is expected. Yeah, it's so predictable, I don't even have to try. We know what's going to happen. To be fair, Harbaugh is the second biggest choke artist. Shanahan is the biggest right now. At least Shanahan can get to a Super Bowl. He can choke on the biggest stage. Harbaugh just chokes in general. Anybody here thinks Belichick will be coaching the Cowboys next year? I don't think so. I don't even know if he wants that job. I think Lamar finally knows what he needs to do against the Chiefs because that was his best game against them in week 1. Yeah, it's not just the Lamar thing. The team as a whole needs to come together and play well. If you just watch what happened against Pittsburgh, it's not just the Lamar thing. It's a team thing. And the team's not going to come together because every time John Harbaugh takes on Tomlin or Reed, he just gets outclassed. They play chess, he plays Connect 4. And that's why we lose. I'm upset the Ravens traded for Deontay Johnson. He ain't going to do anything here. Have you noticed we lose to teams that have a dominant edge rusher because our O-line stinks? Yeah, everybody's noticed this. Again, the Ravens are so predictable. We can all see it, but they can't. They're so blind. They're so blind. Everybody can see it. Lamar's at a breaking point. He definitely looks extremely pissed. I can tell by his body language. Robert, I was thinking about this on the way home from work. With the way Lamar looks pissed, with the way Marlon Humphrey has been actively calling out players, with the way there seems to be some turmoil between Marcus Williams and the coaching staff or something is going on with this team. I think something's going to happen in the bye week. I think this team is going to have a heart-to-heart with themselves. There may be some sort of players meeting or something. They're going to have a conversation. The Ravens players are going to have a conversation come bye week because something has to change. Something has to change. If the Ravens moved on from Harbaugh, who would be their next coach? I have no clue, but I would love to start the coach search and see who's available. I think a new philosophy in Baltimore would be a fresh change because the philosophy that's been here for 17 years has grown stale. Did you guys bring back Brian Billick? Nope. I don't need him back. I want somebody new. You beat yourself because you're poorly coached. Pretty much. Pretty much. A team that repeatedly makes the same mistakes is poorly coached. Pretty much. To me, I've completely checked out. Looking forward to another Chiefs and Bills AFC Championship game, I guess. Dude, I don't even know if I want to see another Bills Chiefs AFC Championship game because I know the Chiefs are going to win. Cincinnati's really our holy. We don't want Cincinnati to win because they're arrogant, but Cincinnati's going to mix things so much. I don't want Kansas City in the AFC title game. If Cincinnati was in the playoffs, they could... Dude, they mixed everything up. You could end up with a Bengals-Steelers AFC title game. That'd be a nightmare for me personally, but it'd be something different. As a football fan, I'm not trying to watch Bills-Chiefs again. As a football fan, mix it up. Can Houston get there? Can Pittsburgh get there? Can somebody else get there? Can it be Buffalo and Pittsburgh? Can it be Houston and the Chargers? Can LA show up? I want a different look. I want parity. I don't want to see another Bills-Chiefs AFC title game. But we know it's going to happen because it's so predictable. My biggest takeaway is when you said you can have a great quarterback like Lamar, like Burrow, and still lose these games. We're seeing it this year. Burrow is playing like a top 2 quarterback. If Burrow was 7-4, not 4-7, Burrow's the MVP. Jamar Chase is Offensive Player of the Year. But they're 4-7. They can't get those trophies. Gonna put 5,000 on the Steelers winning the next matchup. Steelers make me enough moolah to build my project car. You might win that bet. I ain't gonna lie. You might legitimately win that bet. We all know it's going to be Kansas City and Detroit in the Super Bowl. It feels like it's that, but I don't know. Maybe the NFC can surprise us. Maybe Philly pulls up and does something. Harbaugh's not doing his job. I would have slammed my fist through the TV screen plus the wall. Face it, Ravens are just a regular season team. When have I not said that? I've been saying they're a wild card. I've spoken of this. Flat Earth, who are you speaking about this, bro? Has anybody in this chat even said they haven't been? Who is this for? Who is this for? There will be no Super Bowl appearance for the Ravens longest. Who is this statement for? You're putting blanket statements as if anybody in the chat has been saying that. Every Ravens fan in the chat is like, dude, this is a regular season team. They're a wild card team, one and done. And here this guy comes with blanket statements as if everybody doesn't know it. Who has been making arguments? Face it, the Ravens are a regular season team. Okay, we accepted that years ago. Who is this statement for? As if somebody's in the chat saying, no, we're not this. We're not a regular season team. Man, we've been saying it for years. I'm the guy that said we weren't going to win a championship with Harbaugh. As long as Harbaugh's here, we not winning a chip. Who is this blanket statement for? This man comes into my chat every time making generalizations as if anybody's fighting him on this. Like, who is this statement for? So conflicting. Who is this statement for? Did anybody make an argument that the Ravens weren't a regular season team? They've clearly shown they've been that for years now. Who's made the argument they haven't been? I have zero faith in our Ravens getting the job done against the Steelers or Chiefs. Tell me, what are the odds not running into either one of them? Virtually zero. If the playoffs start today, we go to Pittsburgh for the wild card round. So, yeah. Do you believe Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game since 2016? Yeah, I can. You choked with the Killer Bees, and then you had nothing offensively after Big Ben. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. 100% Steelers, Ravens had we can see that matchup is definitely coming in the playoffs. Harbaugh's got to go off the seat. He's not going anywhere. I pray his contract isn't renewed. He's not going anywhere. Jonathan's extremely overrated. I don't know why people out the Ravens fan base think he's good. He's a good coach, and also the only difference between us, Ravens, and the Ravens fans is not as delusional. We don't pump our chests up talking about we're going to Super Bowl. We have John Harbaugh. We don't exactly feel comfortable or confident in this team's chance in getting it done. Harbaugh is dragging his team down. Dumb coaching. I'm going to call that out. They know what they're doing. Munkin's becoming a part of the problem. He needs to be balanced attack, passing with running the ball. The stats show Henry gets better the more he's used. We've been saying that for a while, but it's the Ravens. They don't do smart things. I was never more happy to see the Ravens defense against them. The Ravens defense actually played Ravens defense. Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson is the Aaron Judge or James Harden of the NFL, while John Harbaugh and Tomlin is the Doc Rivers of the NFL. I mean, I said that last year and I got flack. I literally made this exact same statement after the AFC Championship game and I got flack for it. I said Lamar Jackson from a performance standpoint is James Harden. He'll have good playoff games, but you don't know if he'll show up in the biggest moments. He might make a mistake that costs him, just like James Harden. And then I called John Harbaugh the Doc Rivers of the NFL. I've been saying that for like 2 years now. They bench Marcus Williams and Eddie Jackson that game. The one game the defense shows up huge, the offense chokes. I mean, the Ravens can't play well-balanced, consistent football for 4 quarters. They just don't have it in them. It all looks scripted at this point. Would not be surprised if everything I said happens in the playoffs. Pittsburgh never scored a touchdown. The offense of all offenses choked. It's just hilarious. Harbaugh's poor coaching among his dumb play calling in underutilizing Henry is jeopardizing this team's success. In every game the Ravens have lost, Henry didn't carry the ball for more than 15 times. Yeah, it's a bad look. Different look? Nah. Bills and Chiefs is entertaining. Never a blowout in the playoffs. Great. Get a wild card in there and it's usually a crap game. I just want something different. I like the parody. I like something different. If Ravens lose next week, some changes got to be made. Good luck with that. Only reason I see Harbaugh getting fired is if Harbaugh becomes Mike McCarthy in 2018 to 2019. McCarthy and Rodgers feud is the reason why he got fired. Lamar needs a feud with Harbaugh for him to get... I don't see that happening. What's off is F. Imagine getting bullied every time. I'm getting bullied in every tough game. We don't beat ourselves. This is who we are. It's the end of years. Funny thing is, people think us running the ball somehow us getting away from our MVP, but every other competent team would run the ball when you have a guy like Derrick Henry. Yeah, it's conflicting, but whatever. Lamar will be a superhero if he overcomes this and takes the team to the Super Bowl. That's not happening with the way they're playing. This is a team game. He can't overcome everything by himself. And when everybody would everybody would owe that man an apology and 10 statues. Run the ball instead of the pass like every other good team. We don't do that. I'm sorry. Steelers bullied the Ravens and played takeaway. Y'all lost. Get over it. Oh my God. I hate when these people come in my chat and say things like this as if people are crying and complaining. Has anybody in the chat really been sitting here and been like pissed off about... I have literally sat back and said, one, this was a predictable loss. The Steelers have our number. We always lose to them. Number two, the aspect of we keep beating ourselves, I have said 3 times. If you keep saying your team's beating yourself, that means you're an undisciplined football team. It's not you beating yourself. You're just an undisciplined football team. Stop using the beating yourself thing as an excuse. I have said that 3 times. Where are y'all coming from with this? Y'all got... Guys, please get off Twitter and stop listening to some of the Ravens fans there. Do not confuse me to what you see on Ravens Twitter. I've been very clear of this. I have spoken about the Steelers having the Ravens number. I'm not mad about the playoff loss. I have said this is predictable. I came into the season. I said the Ravens were going to go 12-5. Our 5 losses: Kansas City, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and either Buffalo, Philadelphia, or the Texans. I came into the season saying that. I said we would lose to Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh. I said we would lose to Cleveland and Cleveland. And I said we would get our revenge in Baltimore. I predicted this. I never said that. And the aspect of we beat ourselves, people keep saying that. I'm saying if you keep saying your team's beating yourself in football games, maybe it's not a situation where you're beating yourself. Maybe it's you just being an undisciplined football team. That's who you are. An poorly coached, undisciplined football team. That's what I've said. Please do not come into my chat with the same mindset you see from those people on Twitter. I am not them. I am not about to sit here and defend this team when they're doing dumb stuff. I criticize them when they're doing good. I criticize them when they're doing bad when they win games. I'll criticize them when they're doing bad when they lose games. On the flip side, I will give credit for when they play good in bad games, and I'll give credit when they play good in wins. I'm always fair with my assessment. I'm not going to be like, oh, we beat ourselves. We should have won against the Steelers. If we would have done this, if we would have done... Bro, name me, when's the last time you've seen a Ravens-Steelers matchup where the Ravens haven't played the way they played yesterday? We literally played the exact same way we played last year against Pittsburgh. They've been doing this for years. We played like that in 2021. We played like that in 2020. This is not anything new. It's been the same thing with or without Lamar. They play like this. So I ain't the one. I ain't the one. So I'm just saying, I ain't the one that's going to try to make these type of excuses. I promise you I'm not the one to make those type of excuses. And the aspect of the Steelers bully the Ravens, I said that in my recap video. I said they bullied us. I watched your front 7 bully our offensive line. They destroyed our O-line. I pointed that out. I am not one of those ones on Twitter that like to just make excuses for the team and say, nah, we beat ourselves. No, I'm not one of those ones. I am very fair with the team. I will criticize my team and give credit where credit is due. The Ravens will run the table. Well, the Ravens will run the table, but just count on losing to Pittsburgh against someone. They're not run the table to make the playoffs, probably. But yeah, if they meet up with Pittsburgh in the playoffs, they're going to lose. Actually, Harbaugh will be the reason. Book it. The Ravens defense actually showed up. Just took long enough. What's going on, Brandon? I got to get out of here soon. I've been here for 2 hours, and it's almost 1 in the morning. I do got to go to work tomorrow. How Lamar James Harden, bro, can't be that low. From a performance standpoint in the playoffs, go look at James Harden's moments and go look at Lamar Jackson's moments. From a performance standpoint, he's James Harden. It doesn't mean he doesn't have good performances in the playoffs. It's just in the biggest moments, he'll make a mistake that can cost the team. We've seen it with James Harden, and we've seen it with Lamar. From a performance standpoint. Y'all need a young coach. I would welcome a young coach. This is why I come to get my Ravens news. Appreciate it. I try my best, I guess. Do you think we can make the divisional round if we win a division? If you get Houston or the Chargers? Let me see. If you get Houston or Denver, you can make the divisional round. If you get Houston, actually, you wouldn't be able to get Houston because they're going to win the division. So if you get Denver, you'll make the divisional round because I don't think the Broncos are ready yet to take that stage. So if you get the Denver Broncos in the first round, you can make the division. If you get the Chargers, 50-50 because the Chargers are also known for choking. So I think if you win the division, you better hope you get the Chargers or the Broncos. Because if Pittsburgh's got to come to Baltimore, you're not beating them. Alright. Lamar is not James Harden. He chokes. Lamar's team chokes, and his kryptonite is not the Steelers Chiefs. It's his own team coaches. When we say Lamar is James Harden, we're speaking specifically from a performance standpoint, in which in some of the biggest moments, Lamar will make a mistake that can cost his game. It's not like it's all Lamar's fault, just like it's not all James Harden's fault. James Harden didn't miss all 27 of those threes in Game 6. Not Game 6, in Game 7. James Harden's not the one that missed all those 27 threes. He contributed to it, but he didn't miss all those threes. When I'm just saying, there's just moments you can look throughout where it's not all James Harden's fault. With the Sixers situation, Joel Embiid played worse than James Harden. But I'm just saying, when you look at some of those moments with James Harden, the biggest moments, he might make a play or a decision that can cost you. But he can also have great moments in playoffs. The same can be said about Lamar. Ravens are dumb and undisciplined. We have the right players, but terrible coaching culture. We need to be better. Good luck with that. Thought after the Bills game, Ravens were back. Yeah, you shouldn't have made that assumption after week 4. I was dead wrong. Lost to Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and gave up 28 points a game. I played 28 points a game and failed to beat the Steelers, who didn't score a touchdown. I'm pretty sure the Chargers will defeat the Ravens by 10 points. They got butterfingers and are too penalty prone. I don't think I can see that happening, but the Chargers just choke too much. I can't believe they choked that lead to the Bengals. I don't trust the Chargers either. That's one of those games that can go either way. I wouldn't doubt the Chargers have a 10-point lead, but I don't trust them. Yes, we know Lamar's comp is Peyton Manning. We're making an NFL NBA comparison. We know his comp is Peyton Manning. We're not comparing NFL to NFL. We were comparing NFL to NBA. Us Ravens fans need to file for grievances. That's not going to really do anything. We lose the Chargers versus another ex-Raven. I'm going to laugh. Hard Knocks is going to be a movie. Should be fun. Our receivers, tight ends, running back got bullied too. Imagine letting another man rip the ball out like that twice. Just embarrassing. And they rely on their talent with the game on the line against their rivals. We decided to not have Derrick Henry on a 2-point conversion or even use him in the fourth quarter. Stupid. Maybe somebody beats the Steelers and the Chiefs for us in the playoffs. Then we beat the leftovers to go to the Super Bowl. One can hope, but yeah, that's not happening. Sooner or later, he's going to get over this hurdle and hump. We believe so. We hope so. But until he does, people are going to have their statements about him. I don't understand NBA compares like James Harden. So what that means he's James Harden? We're saying from a performance standpoint, the similarities you see with a guy that's dominant in the regular season, that is a top 5 player in the regular season, that is a future first ballot Hall of Famer or future Hall of Famer, how you want to put it, in the regular season. He gets to the playoffs, and the way you see him play in the regular season is not the way you see him play in the playoffs. Though that is the same statement that's been said about James Harden. The way James Harden plays in the regular season, he doesn't play like that in the playoffs. Now, that doesn't mean Lamar and James Harden have not had good moments in the postseason. Because, again, Lamar has had good moments in the postseason here and there. We just saw his best moment last year against the Texans. But what we're saying is, in some of the biggest moments, they may either not show up, under-deliver, or make a mistake that can cost them. For James Harden, if you saw what he did with the 12 turnovers against the Warriors in the 2015 Western Conference Finals, you would see that. For Lamar, it's throwing that pick into triple coverage. Thank you for Queen, by the way. We didn't sign him. We just let him go free. He was free to go anywhere. So we didn't really give you that, but we just let him go free. So, you guys were free to get him however you want. We didn't hand him over to you. He was a free agent. He was free to go wherever he wanted. Bro, you wrong for that. I'm not the only one that made this statement. I'm not the only one that made that statement comparison between Lamar and James Harden. People noticed this. I'm not the only one that made that statement. Everyone was making it seem like... Okay, I might have been the one that might have came up with that because I don't know if anybody else was calling Lamar Jackson. Okay, I might have been the one that come up with that because I don't remember me making that conversation. But I'm just saying, from a performance standpoint, that's the comparison that people will make to another all-time great player, a future Hall of Famer himself. That's the comparison. You don't have to like it, but that's the comparison. Until Lamar changes the narrative, that's the comparison. It's not like I want it to be that way. And it's been happening for the past 6 years. We are cooked. We aren't winning a Super Bowl. Now, other people definitely have said it, James Harden and Embiid. I've heard the Joel Embiid. I've heard Joel Embiid, and I've heard Giannis. But I don't know if I've heard people say James Harden. I've heard Embiid, I've heard Giannis, but I don't remember hearing James Harden. Which is why when I first said it after the AFC title game, y'all came at my neck for that. Stop comparing to the NBA comps. Compare him to football players. Dude was Peyton. Yeah, I've said for years, the Peyton Manning comparisons. I've made videos comparing Lamar and Peyton Manning. someone asked me, this started in the AFC title game. Someone asked me a comparison because the comparisons happened because people started saying Lamar is like Embiid. He's a second round exit and all this stuff. They made comparisons between Lamar and Embiid and Lamar and an early Giannis and all this other stuff. And I sat back and corrected them and said, if we're going to make a comparison to anybody, he's James Harden. It started out during the conversation in the AFC Championship game. So I didn't just randomly decide to wake up and say, you know what? Let me compare Lamar and James Harden. It happened because people in my chat were after the game, once we lost, people were comparing Lamar to Embiid and all this other stuff, and I had to correct them and say, nah, I wouldn't say Embiid. It's more so about Harden or something like that. So that's where it started. I hope Harbaugh's contract is not renewed. Sick and tired of his cuteness. It's not going anywhere. I'm pretty sure he's still signed for next year. Okay, but how do these comparisons affect LeBron's legacy? With that, last statement, I can go. I'm done. It's 12:48. I've been here for 2 hours, and this became another one of those type of conversations. I got work in the morning, so I got to go to sleep. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to have to keep talking about the Ravens. This is just how it's going to be. I'm pretty sure we have to do a state of the AFC North probably at some point this week. So I appreciate Brandon putting that last statement there because that's a perfect place to end off. But, yeah, I'm going to head on out. The title is what it is. The Baltimore, we beat ourselves. Ravens, they strike again. It is what it is, and you know how it is. We win the AFC Championship game if Zay doesn't fumble and coaching doesn't sell. Dog, we can play the if games all day with the Ravens. We win this game if we do that. We win this game if we don't do that. It's always if with the Ravens. That's why they'll keep being ifs while the Chiefs will keep collecting rings because they do the things that we don't do. So keep playing the if game. I can't wait to see how we play the if game this time when we get into January. Wonder who's going to be. Harbaugh used to prepare for the Steelers. Well, what happened lately? You go ask him that question. I don't know. He's been awful. He's getting out-coached by Tomlin every single game they play now. Same with Andy Reid. He can't beat Andy Reid to save his life. But, yeah, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I got to get some sleep because I got to wake up in the morning for work. So, yeah, take care. Be sure to stay safe. Peace out, guys.